right, guys, we're back at it again. Third Eye Truth Theorem Podcast, episode 101, downtown St. Joseph, Michigan, June 30th, 2025. That's it, right, Joe?
Good job.
Yes. I am your host, James Gill. This is our co-host, Joe Hill.
Still here.
All right, guys, we have a special guest tonight. We have a really good chef in the area. And she's been doing this for a while. So I want to introduce Audrey S. Peoples. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
No problem. No problem.
Yes.
And that's actually Audrey.
That's it, wrong?
Yeah,
That's
Audrey.
it.
I
That's
used to
it.
Aubrey and people.
Oh
like,
shit!
that's all
I'm
right.
sorry. I feel bad.
Better known as Chef Audrey.
Oh man, we had a little mix up earlier today. We had a little mix up earlier today. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say.
You still said something.
You told me not to.
Damn, you still said
That's
something.
okay, though, Joe. Look, you did the Tom Jennings. Okay? Go all the time too.
No,
Actually, it wasn't your fault. It's just misunderstood.
it was everybody's fault.
Yeah, but,
I'm not gonna take. I'll take the blame. She doesn't have to, but I'll take it.
yeah. All right. That's the way to own up and be accountable for your actions.
I will. It was all me. I'm sorry.
All right, guys. We're just reeling off the 100th episode of the podcast, and this is a milestone for us. We appreciate the turnout. We want to thank Johnny Ford, Rodney Mills, even definitely thank Nardo from Nardo's Pizza. He let us do a on scene location for our podcast, the 100th episode. Oh, and not to mention Eric Bradford too popped in. So
we had other people.
Yeah, we had some.
You gonna name them all?
I can't name them all.
Why?
Because I'm just gonna get to the show.
Oh, okay. But I will say this: how'd you like his wings? I had to ask.
I didn't eat them yet. I ate the pizza.
You ate the pizza?
Oh, dude, I would put that pizza to work.
Which one did you get?
I had I forget what it was, but it was really good though.
I had the Betty White. The first
It
one I
was a
ever
large
had.
one.
Dude, that thing was awesome.
The pizza's fire. I had the Nala. It was pretty.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
yes.
That was pretty good, man. Thanks to Nardo for letting us do our 100th episode.
Yeah, thank you again. That was
Nardo's
awesome.
Pizza. That was great, and we had a warm welcome too in the beginning. That was great, wasn't it?
You know, Eric made them.
Yeah, I know he made them.
I was gonna say, wait a minute. He made them.
I know, but why you? Come on, we had a warm welcome. Come on, man. It was
It's
fun.
like all these kids and everybody else were dancing in the background. We're having a good time.
It was
Because
like almost like Chuck E. Cheese.
how we had it was we had the cameras facing us. We're in the middle of the bar.
Okay.
Kids in the
And
bag.
the kids in the background
yeah,
waving,
yeah.
jumping. Yeah. It was nice.
It was
kind
fun.
of cool.
It was fun though.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. The arcade and stuff. I did.
So let's get into the interview here. So give us a little bit about yourself, a little background, and let people know who you are, how you come to this point.
Well, born and raised Benton Harbor. Actually, I was born in St. Joe. Excuse me, in Memorial Hospital. My grandfather came here in 1926. During he was part of that in-migration. A lot of people came up from the South because the car industry was starting to kick off. There was really nothing in Benton Harbor yet, so he came to St. Joe, and he was actually here for about 3 years before he moved over to Benton Harbor. But I always say that I'm born and raised. It's in my blood. Went to Benton Harbor High School, class of 1985. We got a 40-year reunion coming up. A 40, I can't believe that. But I lived in Chicago for about maybe it was 20 years, worked in the legal field, always done food, love food. The bottom dropped out of the economy in 2008. They handed me a severance. And then I dug into food full time. And at that point, I was starting to transition back to Benton Harbor. I had some personal chef clients, so I was kind of still going back and forth and slowly merging myself back to the area. And I realized when I got here that there was a lot that I wanted to do for Benton Harbor. I think a lot of us who come through Benton Harbor, we always want to come back. We always have these ideas for what we can do for the city, mostly wanting to change the narrative. The narrative for Benton Harbor has always been a rough one, but I really feel like we don't have any more or any less situations than really any other community. But I got here, I got boots to the ground, and I started doing food. I opened up a shared space. One of my first ventures was a shared space with a collective. And that was Yoga Muse, and that was with Adrienne White and her partner Luke. They had a really dope space in downtown Benton Harbor. So I was doing like vegan food, and then they had like yoga and all that other stuff in the back. And that kind of really gave me a chance to start really getting exposed to the area. Um, and I need to back up. When I first got here, I opened up a restaurant. It was D&M Supermarket, it was D&M Supermarket, was on Napier. Yeah. And there was a kitchen in there. Harry, I can't remember his last name, but Harry and Simmer. It was called the Lunch Counter. In fact, my sign is still up there. It was called the Lunch Counter, Soul's Ground Foods, the Lunch Counter, which is the name of my Soul's Ground Foods is the name of my brand, Chef Audie Soul's Ground Foods. And I really kind of focus in, of course, on just the nutrition, the whole foods, um, really just sourcing from local, just that whole, even though it became a cliche in the industry, I mean, everything pretty much fucking starts farm to table, you know.
Yeah.
So, but I really kind of held on to that, and I started really kind of just going around and meeting the farmers and the gardeners and just kind of partnering with them. But I kind of did some food that really was not in the area and that I had missed in Chicago. I was very spoiled. And one of my biggest concerns coming back from Chicago is, where am I going to eat? Where am I going to get burger? Where am I going to get some good chicken? So I kind of did all of that out of the lunch counter, and then I actually worked in the industry, the restaurant industry. I was kind of advised, get out there. After I had the cafe open for about a year and a half, I wanted restaurant. I wanted that life. And by then I was already in my 40s. I'm just aging myself right now,
Wait a
but
minute. How old are you?
58.
No way.
Way.
You look
Yeah.
good for 58.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
But I found myself like sleeping on floors and just kind of starting over in the industry. First thing in Atlanta, Chicago, working in really some of the best restaurants, an opportunity to do a bit of time in the at the aviary. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Grant Ackett. She's Michelin star chef. He owns Alinea,
Yeah.
which is, I think there's still you still got to get a wait list to get a table there.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, and he was kind of at the forefront. He didn't really like to call it gastronomy. It was just, or the molecular gastronomy. He just wanted
That
to.
stuff's awesome.
Yeah,
Honestly.
it
That
is.
stuff's awesome to cook with.
And it's interesting because I almost didn't kind of have a respect for that type of cuisine. I mean, you take a whole bushel of asparagus and bring it down to like maybe a few dots of this hyper umami burst of asparagus. And I always thought, well, that's kind of like not very sustainable. But I understood the way, to do it, and to watch the executive chef and with his chefs just kind of standing there masterminding, because you really had to have a scientific background
Yes.
to be able to do that
Yeah.
type of food. So I was amazed and just built a whole new respect for that type of cuisine. And I kind of took some of those tricks, because you work with some type of food chemicals and stuff. So it's kind of nice to have that under my belt. And then I worked in several different other restaurants in Chicago. I've worked in Denver. I've worked in, like I said, Atlanta. There was a brand new restaurant opening up downtown. The chef there was Marvin Woods, who actually cooked with Michelle Obama. He
Oh, really?
did he did
Yeah.
some forward stuff with her, and he's written several award-winning cookbooks. And his cuisine is more coastal, which is kind of what I like to cook, coastal foods. Also, I love Southeast Asian foods, ethnic foods. I love home-style ethnic foods. So really, that's kind of where my cuisine lies. So I kind of brought all of that back to Benton Harbor, and then fast forward to getting that space with the collective, and I was there for about a year almost, and then I happened to opportunity to get a food truck, and I named that the Work It Food Truck. And that was after, just work, from the gay community, it was like, work that girl, So I was like, I'm working this truck. So yeah, that was the name of my food truck. And I did a lot with that. Lots of weddings and sporting events and stuff like that. But and it used to be I don't know if you were familiar with the Baja Gringo taco truck.
Yes.
That's the truck. I got it from Scott Gang.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
I do know that truck.
Yeah. So, and that was one of the only two STFU trucks. In other words, I didn't have to go to a commissary. It was like a rolling kitchen.
Yes,
So it's pretty dope. It was
Yeah.
really excellent. And he built it out. I don't know if you ever saw the movie Chef, where he reminded me of myself. He was an executive chef in this restaurant in this posh neighborhood in LA. He got into it with the owner, who thought he was just the shit or whatever, and didn't respect the chef. So he walked away from it and got a hold of this old truck, built it out to this really, I love that story. I've probably seen it a million times. It's an older story, but that truck kind of reminded me of that. And it was just, I was definitely a certain sense of freedom. And I was selling on the streets of Benton Harbor, but it was very, very stressful. I mean, I would be up and down off that truck 20 times before I pulled it out every morning. Between getting the gray water, getting fresh water on, stocking with the food, and then of course there's all of the prep, everything, because you kind of want to show up on site ready to lock and
Yeah.
load. And then after that, I did some more restaurant work. Just recently, I was executive chef in Kalamazoo. I was executive chef out at River St. Joe. But both of those, by then, my health started to decline. It will take a toll on your health.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And yeah, and I'm actually 5 years ago during COVID, I had open heart surgery.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And that was just, I mean, I always tell people when you sit down at a restaurant, especially if it's chef driven, please understand and respect the food. Most likely the chefs have put in multiple hours, given up
Yeah.
personal time to put together a great dining experience for you. And if you really put your heart, you have to be. I was obsessed with it, obsessed with food. I grow food, I cook with it. I'm an herbalist, so the whole nine yard. I'm kind of like really, really into the food.
So actually, I have a couple questions while you're going through your life right here from the past. How's it going from being an executive chef in Chicago with well-known names to opening up your own food truck?
Well, actually, I was not. I was actually more of a line cook.
But still, you're still
Yeah, but
working
still
with,
working with those.
yeah,
Um,
and learning those experiences.
right. And when I opened up the lunch counter, I had really no restaurant experience other than Wendy's or something like that. I don't know if you really want to count that. But in
Still-
terms of an
Still food,
actual,
it's okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Can't say executive chef. Well, executive Wendy's.
Yeah, I know, right? And I remember when I was that was on Michigan State's campus. I went to state for a few minutes, and that was by the football field. So you can imagine what that was like
Oh, yeah.
after the football games. But in answer to your question, I going in where I had it in and seeing how it's executed. It really it gave me the experience and the wherewithal to go forward and to be able to be hired eventually as an executive chef, but certainly fortified what I had already kind of just done naturally on my own. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Especially in tourist driven areas like St. Joe. And I've been a sous chef in South Haven, which is really kicking right now. And I've also worked in the other direction in Harbor Country. It is yeah, I've worked all along the beach coast. I opened up the Inn of Harbor Shores. I was that first of that initial team, the Planks Tavern.
Oh,
I was
really?
part of that first team. Yeah, Tim Hedren had come in from Colorado, and he brought a
Yeah.
team.
So you worked with who's the executive chef down there now?
I don't know.
Tip,
Yeah,
on
I
the
can
tip of my
tell you.
tongue.
Oh yeah, he
He
was.
was a little short, little Mexican guy.
Oh yeah, I'm not sure who that is because I had probably I was
I didn't have to look it up. Elton.
okay. Yeah, I'd never had the opportunity because by then I was already gone.
Okay.
Like I said, I was with that first team, and then he kind of had to leave too in the middle of the night. We won't go into that. But I'm glad that the restaurant did survive. I think it's still a great menu. I've noticed a lot of the same dishes are still on there.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good restaurant for Benton Harbor, St. Joe to have. So it's been a whole different life for me. I had a totally different life. Worked in the legal field when I was in Chicago, and which was a whole dynamic in itself. But I had always done catering and stuff like that because food was just in me, and I was already trying to make my way away from that whole life and go into food anyway. I don't want to say it was a blessing when I lost my job, but the firm did really take care of me. And so I was able to pay my mortgage for a few more months
Yeah.
and then dive full time into food. And so it's just been a journey here, and just absorbing and taking in everything that I am. I am Soul's Ground Foods and Natural Healing. I am Chef Audie, and that's synonymous with my birth name, which is Audrey Sylvia Peeples.
Yeah.
Hey, James, I hate to say this.
What?
This is another person. This is another person that's done a lot than we ever have combined.
Oh no,
Yeah.
I can agree with that.
Yeah, I know.
I'm
Thank you.
still
Yeah.
I'm still
We're
stuck on the
amazed.
herbalist part of it.
Thanks.
So you say you're herbalist. I mean, tell us a little bit more about that.
I feel like I have been given this task to help heal
Yeah.
people. And at the same time that I did this deep dive into food. I always tell people I went underground. People didn't know if I was in Chicago, if I was here.
Yeah.
I was here for several years before people really even realized it. But I will say that I did receive Soul's Ground Foods and natural healing from the universe, from God. And I was directed in the books and the research. And I mean, I could take, say, asparagus, which is actually one of my favorite foods, and I could spend 13 hours, not only learning how to grow it, but what it can do. And so it's kind of like that with the herbs. I have worked and I grow many different herbs. I believe, all seed bearing plants are a gift to us. I believe in all, I also believe wholly in cannabis as well, because I grow that as well. And it's just to see it, to receive that gift, and to learn how to use, the herbs, and then to be able to be successful with it, and helping people heal,
Yeah.
is just it's truly a blessing that I don't take lightly whatsoever.
So you infuse your the herbal, I necessarily herbal, the marijuana with your food.
Yeah, I do. So I am a cannabis chef as well. And of course I do other food products, because like my food line right now always has some element, not
Yeah.
cannabis, but there's always an element, a healing element into
Right.
every dish that I put together. And I do have a different cuisine and a different menu for the cannabis. I've done cannabis parties, and
Really?
stuff like that. Yeah. But yeah, I love to infuse, and it goes beyond the the brownies and stuff like that.
Right.
I can infuse whole meals and stuff
So it's
like that.
beyond this, just like say for instance, cookies, brownies, the things that people
Already know.
already
Mm.
know about, but
Mhm.
like just a dish that you could put together
Mhm.
and infuse it that way.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, people already know when we do have dinner parties, we do state that they're infused. So those people, and it is private. It's not,
Yeah.
um, and it's just it's a vibe, because I usually do it with a good friend of mine who's a DJ, Niles Yarbrough, and we were kind of notorious for our parties.
Yeah.
He would be spinning in the background, and yeah, I mean, it was dope, and everybody really really enjoyed it. It really was a vibe.
So when you have these, even the herbal part, what makes it like? I guess I'm more stuck on. I really don't know how to define my sentence actually, but I'll try to do the best I can. With the herbal part and the healing, how's it healing? I guess that's where I'm stuck on.
In terms of the cannabis.
No, not the
Okay.
canvas. It doesn't-
Okay, because there's different strains that are
Yeah.
particular. Just like Chronic, for instance, that was made famous by, say, Snoop and all of them on the West Coast. And it's called Chronic, but it's called Chronic because it helps heal so many chronic illnesses. But in just regular herbs, different herbs, there's all types of herbs. There's many that are indigenous right here to Michigan, which is really cool.
Oh.
So I will study whatever that herb is and learn which part of that herb is going to be the healing part. And theoretically, when you get into pharmaceuticals, 20% is always an organic content. And that's the part that really, helps you feel good. The rest is just bullshit,
Yeah.
on top of it.
So what kind of meal, say you threw a dinner party, what kind of meal would you cook? And if me and him had one and say the menu's up to
He
you,
wouldn't
Mhm.
partake in that. I would definitely.
what
be
kind of
part of
meal
that.
would you? Well, I mean, if we did one and we said the menu's up to you, what would you kind of throw out?
One thing that I also do is I specialize in vegan vegetarian cuisine. So one of the things that I love to do is take, say, a favorite cuisine and make it vegan vegetarian. For instance, Black American soul food. I can create a menu where you really wouldn't know that you weren't eating, say, a pork spare rib. I can do greens, I can do the sweet potatoes, and I can do, all of those favorites that are tend to be very unhealthy.
To make it
For
healthy.
right.
Yeah.
And so 9 times out of 10, if I was to do, say, a dinner for you, I would probably suggest, well, let me create something vegan or vegetarian for you to just because the meat right now stuff is just sliding through. There's some
I have to agree
really
with you on that one.
bad stuff
Yeah.
going through
I
the
like
food
the fat
stream.
shit.
Yeah, and it used to be, say, mad cow disease. I remember that, that was a big thing. People were scared because they were showing these cows all,
Yeah.
shaking, and now they're allowing that in. Whereas
And
before they would pull
really,
that out. And it's just because there's such a demand for meat still. There's still the consumption, and the demand is just, especially poultry. They're starting to do. I mean, there's Franken food out there now, so they're starting to create.
How much does your parties cost?
It would depend. I would. It's usually per person.
Yeah.
If I was to do, say, just something, probably anywhere between 30 and 50.
30, 50 people?
And at $30 and $50.
Oh, I'm at people wise.
Yeah.
Because it would be more if it was cannabis. People wise, I try to keep it intimate. Really, no more than 20 people, because that way, when we set up a party, we always have everybody's facing each other, and you get a chance to really interact with people. We really try to, I really try to get people. It's a great opportunity for people to really just kind of meet one another. I'll be like, wow, I didn't know you were living here, and wow, you're a pretty cool person. So I like to promote that. I like to promote more of a community, but usually it's still plated, so I would still give up.
Do you come
plates.
to our house, or would you have we had to find a hall, or how does that work?
Both
come to
ways.
them?
Both ways. I prefer coming to someone's say home or something that they've set up. But if I was to get a venue, that's when we start going a little higher in the price point, just to cover the cost of the venue. But I prefer to be in a private space, and it's easier to control that way too. The guest list and whatnot.
Hey, can you hold about 20 people?
Am I? No, not mine. I have enough seating for maybe 6, and that's about
And
it.
I've done 6 too.
6,
So, oh yeah. I mean, I can do 2.
Yeah.
I can. You're on. If you want to date, if you want to set up an intimate situation, I can definitely cover that. And one of the cool things about working in all of these different restaurants, and I've been exposed to some high end food.
Yeah.
So, if you really wanted to put something together and you wanted me to procure some of the best ingredients, I could do that, or I could make it very affordable. I'm all around the scale.
Yeah, you're pretty flexible. When it comes to
Exactly.
that.
Yeah.
I would enjoy that. I'm telling you that much.
I could do this.
I know Dana over here. She's over here clapping her hands. She's like, yes.
Yeah.
I could probably do something like that. We can probably,
Yeah, that'll be a
that's up there
great
with
thing.
when we do a wine kind of tour and having some people
wine
like that,
tasting
and we
and
make
things of
people
that
pay
nature.
for their spots, but we have people up to, say, we'll just limit it at 15 or wherever we can host it at, but have 15, and then we can do something like that, and where they taste it and everybody can experience it.
So now are these like different courses like throughout the? I mean, you set up like a appetizer,
right,
so on and so forth.
Yeah, and like for instance, when I do a cannabis, I'd love to start out with like community hour where we're kind of passing the peace or that kind of thing. But in between each meal, I always do something like either a cordial or something, or people don't necessarily want, there's different ways that we can, people don't really want to inhale. There's so many different ways. You don't have to inhale. There's so many ways, but I always love to be able to do different courses and introduce, excuse me.
You need a pen?
Yeah.
Switch it. Right. Toss it.
And introduce and introduce, I'd like to kind of introduce what the next course is. In between, but at least 4 courses. So there would be like starting out with an appetizer. First course is usually like a salad or a soup or both. And then there's the main, and then there's always the dessert.
Okay.
And then I even like to do something at the end, maybe an infused coffee. And it doesn't, again, we're not necessarily talking about cannabis,
right?
Or something like that. So, and we can all, and I'm totally down for if someone has an idea, I can cook anything. It doesn't matter what it doesn't matter what it
I want to
is.
taste your soul food.
I can hook that up too.
Oh, I love that. You had me at hello when you said that. I was like, oh man.
I love my
And-
good soul food.
And so you can make it healthy too.
Oh.
Yeah,
at the same time?
And you
I
can
can
make it
absolutely
healthy.
make it
And you
healthy.
can make it healthy.
And
Oh.
I can still do it. Doesn't even necessarily have to be vegan, vegetarian. I can still do it on a healthier end.
Yeah.
The beauty about it is that I come from a relatively old family. Like I said, my family was here back in 27. My grandmother, as people do. My grandfather had this amazing garden, and I would remember like I was 6 years old, and they would babysit me, and I would go out and help my grandfather pick some of the vegetables. And I'll remember one of the first things I ever had was like 4 years old, and he grew beefsteak tomatoes. If you know what those are, those
Yeah.
big juicy honking, And he picked one off of it was so ripe, and it was like heavy to me. And he was just like, "Oh, just bite into it." And I bit into it. It was the most amazing I mean, it's just dripping all down my chin. And I fell in love with tomato. I actually have a tattoo of a tomato. That's just
Yeah.
how much I love it. But I remember picking the vegetables, and then my grandmother would clean it. I'd help her clean it, and then I would watch her cook it. So I was having like greens and ham hocks and stuff for lunch. But it was an amazing experience that I've always held on to. So I learned how to cook stuff, that she learned from her mother and her grandmother who
Yeah.
were born back in the 1800s.
Right.
So,
So
excuse me,
when did
just
you
a
get
lot of
into
wisdom.
the vegan part of
Mhm.
cooking? Is
Um,
it after your surgery or
No, well before when I was
okay?
living in Chicago, and when I was much younger, I don't know if you remember the Gladiators.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a gladiator, or I wanted to compete in
Okay.
the American Gladiators.
I did too. Don't
Yeah,
feel bad.
word?
Yes, I
Good.
wanted to so bad.
And I knew, and I was into weight training. I didn't want to do the Miss Olympia so much because they juice, and it's just really unnatural to me. But I remember this was the Fitness USA contest were also starting to burgeon, and this was a whole lot more natural.
Yeah.
It was toned. And I know that I needed to lose weight, and I needed to adapt a diet that was going to be conducive to me to be able to get into that body type. So, but thank goodness, I had the opportunity to actually go to vegan restaurants. And so it was actually many years ago when I was in my 20s
Yeah.
that I actually got into vegetarian food. And it just kind of stuck. The more I learned how to cook, and really, really hone in on some of the things, I create the meats and all of those things that you really,
Oh,
really
really?
know. Yeah. So I've spent many years just kind of honing in on preparing it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I'm very impressed.
Thanks. And there's so many really beautiful vegan. There's one called Planta in Chicago. I want to go check out. It's like it's really they looks like some of the very beautiful food plated and stuff. So I want to go check out.
Have you been to well, it's not really vegan, it's not a healthy place, but it's small plates. The Purple Pig.
I've never been. No. Yeah, where is that?
It's on it's right across actually I can't is that Michigan, that's downtown, that's always light up for Christmas and all that. Am I saying that right?
Oh.
It's right there across from Michael Street, Michael Jordan's restaurant.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It's right
Oh,
down.
that's off LaSalle.
Yeah.
No, I've never been there.
It's great food.
Really?
Really
Okay.
great.
I'm gonna have to
Small,
check that out.
small place. The
And those are the
spirits
best ones.
just fell off the bone
Mhm.
right there.
Those are the best places, and I
they're
love
always packed.
yeah, and that's just
They're
it. And I love to go to really small, out of the way, where the mom and pop are back there cooking.
Yeah,
And anytime they love when you ask them to prepare something that they would like to eat. They love, and that's the way I learned how to cook a lot of the foods that I love to cook now, especially the Southeast Asian. I love those flavors, like the Thai and the Vietnamese. I love those flavors,
Yeah.
and um, excuse me, West Indian, coastal flavors, all of those. And so those are the best places to learn.
What's your favorite food that you loved growing up when you were a kid? I'm gonna go way back.
Yeah,
Seems like your palate was I don't know, more advanced as a kid growing up.
Actually, I was probably I was a skinny little thing too, but excuse me.
You're fine.
I actually loved chicken noodle soup. Simple thing. I love cottage cheese and peaches and
Yes.
that kind of stuff.
I do too.
Whereas other
Don't
people
feel
would
bad.
be, so and I love spaghetti, just kind of the simple stuff. But my dad loved to cook too. And I remember watching the Cajun chef, Justin Wilson, the Cajun chef,
Yes.
and all of and he would go out and get the stuff that we just watched. So it was kind of cool. So, just simple stuff like soups, and I can't really think of anything in particular. I know that I love my grandmother's greens, and I loved her cornbread dressing, and she made these deep dish cobblers.
Damn,
Oh my God.
I'm acting like James. Damn.
Blueberry cobbler, whatever was in season,
Yeah.
And this is when food was food.
Yeah.
And it just and the thing on her rolls, oh my God. She never measured. She, when she would make her rolls and stuff, she knew just the right consistency. She would taste the dough and know that she might need a little more of this and a little more of that. And that was kind of what, then some of them wrote it down, but a lot of times it just came off of memory and
Yeah.
love, and and so that's absolutely the number one ingredient is love.
I think there's some of the best times that just watching your parents or your grandparents cook.
Mhm.
And like you said, they didn't measure, they knew the recipe like the back of their hand.
Right.
And tasting it and added a little bit more if they had to.
Mhm.
Those are some of my best times watching eating.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And there was a stool right next to not right next to the stove, but there was a stool that I always sat on, and I remember it was an old stool and it used to spin around.
Yeah.
And I remember just sitting there and watching her cook, just at a very early age. And so that definitely was responsible for my love and desire, and especially to just really kind of want to deep dive into food. And then as I got older and realized that food is life, that food can save lives,
Yeah.
is when I really started to respect the whole growing part, because I used to grow hydroponically. And this is when the internet was still really new.
Yeah.
So there wasn't a whole lot of information out there on how to grow hydroponically. They're already doing it in Canada and in Australia and places like that, but it really hadn't prevailed. Now it prevails here because that's pretty much how they grow wheat is through hydroponics. And of course, there's nothing like soil, but if soil is scarce, you can always grow in water. Just get some nutritions in there.
Yeah.
Go with it.
Go with that.
Mm-hmm.
You enjoying this?
Yeah, actually, I am.
This is I like talking about this stuff right here.
I know how much you love food.
Yeah, I mean, I like to cook too, man. But I don't think I'm to the point where I'm like a chef like you, where you've been around different chefs and then learn different things. I just take recipes and do what I want with them,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of dabble in certain things, certain areas.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the first time we met, and it was an awkward thing because you got on my ass about it. Like I've been over here for a minute, and I'm like, oh man. But I understood where you're coming from, and I try to compensate for it. And I do appreciate you putting me on the spot, because it made me a better person making sure everybody's taken care of. So
granted, I never tasted this food, so I don't know if this food's good or not. He's always says it.
no,
He takes pictures
She
of
came in the sandbar, and nobody waited on it. I finally came over there and said, "Well, I've been sitting here," and she lit me up, man.
And see, I remembered you before from Czars. I know you probably
Yeah.
don't remember, because I used to, I know when Beth Ann here used to work there.
Yeah.
And I remember going there after she, I think we had, in fact, my band, I think we had played there about 10 years ago. And I remember her there. She said, "Oh yeah, that's James." Blah, blah, blah. I know you. So I had kind of known, but we had not personally met until that point. Yeah.
Well,
And I didn't really
I'm
think
glad you said something.
Appreciate that.
I'm glad you said something, because I said let's start from a better foot here, a better note. And I didn't want to be on a bad note with her, because she was sitting over there for a minute. I didn't notice, but every time you come in, I'm like, how you doing?
Now I sit at the bar, so I'm in your face.
But I appreciate that. Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Put
And
me on
I
the
mean, I
spot.
knew I wanted to be more on a personal level with you as well, because I know I've seen you around for many, many years. And so I'm glad that we were able to, connect on even on that level.
I was like, man, I better.
Good job, James.
Make sure
Way
I
to step up on that one. Way to step up and be the man on that one.
I hold myself accountable, at least for that point anyway.
For sure.
So I guess the next question would be, what was your favorite, but what do you like to cook when it's just you, when you're cooking for yourself? What is your go-to meal? Thinking, I want that.
Ramen.
Jesus.
Ramen noodles.
Do you really?
Oh my God.
Do you
I'm a
doctor
noodle head. I actually have a couple of shirts.
Wait a minute,
that I-
do you know how to cook ramen noodles?
Yeah,
Do you
and
cook it
I-
from the book or not?
no, I mean, and see, most of the things
know
I
you're going with
cook,
that.
most of the things that I cook, like you were saying, I create recipes. I don't really like to look at other people's shit because I don't want, I want to be able to take credit for it fully. But just eating so many noodles and eating, in so many different restaurants, from the fast to the ramens to all of that, I know that the broth is key. So a lot of times I'll create a broth and just, I might freeze it or whatever. And the noodles typically, I just buy some really good noodles, dry noodles. There's no need to even though I can make them from scratch, there's no need to really reinvent
awesome.
You
reinvent
make
that
noodles
wheel.
from scratch too.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
man.
yeah. And pasta too. I love to make pasta.
That's a sign of a good chef right there.
Takes
Noodles.
time.
Yeah, it does, but in the end, it's worth it.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
worth it.
and then what they, in terms of what they usually put in their broths, there's just all kinds of amazing things. And even though it tends to be a beef broth, and I don't really eat beef or pork, I've been able to create a nice, actually, it's a vegan chicken broth, and just putting all of those, like the lemongrasses and the cloves and just all of those wonderful aromatics into the broth and just let it simmer for hours and hours.
It's like music to my ears, man. I tell you.
And then all you gotta do is just add those noodles.
Yeah.
And so that is like the biggest hug. I know sometimes when I would come home from the kitchen, and especially when I was working the dinner services and stuff, I wouldn't get home till midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning because
Yeah.
obviously after you clean the kitchen, it takes about an hour to break down after you close. Then of course after everybody's gone, then the staff we gotta have a couple of bourbons or whatever.
Right,
Yep.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there would
Something
be
to
time.
wind down.
Right, exactly. Because I am not quite hungry yet because I've been cooking all of this food. And a lot of times it's funny because a lot of us chefs, we'll go home and throw in a pizza. We're
Yeah.
putting all these beautiful $300 plates and then, go home and put in a frozen pizza.
I know you're coming from because I worked at the bistro
Okay.
and I was a sous chef there. And yeah, we all stayed after and had a cocktail and everything else. And all of a sudden, everybody looks around. What are you hungry for? Burger King,
Yeah.
Taco Bell.
Yeah, exactly. Something so simple, hot dogs or something.
Something I don't have to cook. We're going to the
Exactly.
drive-through right now. We're gonna stop at the gas station and get ourselves a hot dog or something.
Yeah.
We don't
So
want anything.
when I get home, I'll just, and I like to, I would put, measure off, a nice serving of broth. I
Yeah.
might pull it out the freezer, just throw it in a pot, throw in the noodles. There you go. And I'm going to the shower and go to bed.
See, the funny thing is the reason I asked because we had Christina, her maiden name was Juroff. So she is executive chef at I think she's at last time I knew she was at Lake Michigan Hills cooking up there.
Okay.
And she can cook anything she said from scratch, not from scratch, just cook everything else. But she cannot make ramen noodles.
What?
Or macaroni and cheese. I said, you can
Really?
cook all this fancy shit,
Mhm.
but you can't read the instructions on the back of the box. Wait a minute here.
Yeah, 'cause-
There's something wrong with this picture.
Yeah, and the cool thing about it is there's so many great pastas, dry pastas out there, so you really don't have to. And I mean, I've worked in restaurants where they make them, by hand. But again, 10 minutes in a pot of water and your pasta's ready.
I know she's gonna get mad. I just don't want it in the microwave.
Or
I know you're not
9
supposed to
minutes.
microwave. I just don't.
Oh
want to
no,
microwave.
no.
Why is everybody looking at me now? They're all weird. I don't care. I'm hungry. I'm hungry. I want my
I hear
food
you.
now.
I guess because there is, they're
not supposed to put it in
they-
the microwave.
no.
But
And I've done some bioscan and I've found that there are microwaves in my body from, heating up food in the microwave. So I try to warm it up on stove if I can. If I have that time and patience. But like you said, if you're hungry, you're ready to
I'm
go.
hungry. I'm ready to
Zap
go.
that shit in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Noodles are done.
But yeah, I love this industry, but I am winding down, and I'll never say I'm going to retire. But what I want to do is concentrate more on my original business model, which was ready to eat vegan vegetarian foods. So right now I'm actually down at the Benton Harbor Farmers Market on Wednesdays, and I'll come down with some of my ready to eat foods.
Like what?
Well, I've created these bowls. Like when I had my restaurant, because I did go back to that collective space almost 2 years ago, and I was there for almost 2 years. It was called Soul's Ground Cafe, right on Territorial in Benton Harbor. And I created these bowls, a jerk bowl, which was a favorite. So I'd make jerk sauce. It's something else that I've created. And I've worked a long time on that jerk sauce because everybody had, especially West Indians, they have their own,
Yeah.
so it was just basically vegetables, some really great rice, And then I would mix in my jerk sauce, and that would jerk chicken, or you can get it vegan, vegetarian as well. I also did this Mex bowl where it's just very simple. It's rice, refried beans. If you wanted chicken or steak or or vegetarian, and then pico de gallo, nice fresh element on top of that.
Yeah.
So
it's okay.
so I've created this soul bowl, the very first, it was 2 weeks ago, was the beginning of the farmer's market. And I use Carolina Gold rice, which is this beautiful rice that was actually brought back to life from South Carolina. And there's several rices that are grown in plantations. It's a little more expensive.
Isn't it thicker?
It is, but it's a smaller grain.
Yeah.
Delicious. And then on top of that, I did some turnip greens, air fried some cauliflower, candied sweet potatoes, and I also did a green bowl with bamboo rice. So I have several bowls where rice is the component, the bottom component. I use a bamboo rice, or I put together right now. It's again, going back to the medicinal aspect. I do a jasmine rice, and I cook it in spirulina and herbs.
That's what I usually cook with, is jasmine rice.
Yeah, jasmine rice. And then on top of that, I whatever the asparagus is still in season. It's been a little too warm to have it out there. I do vegan sushi. So
vegan
those
sushi?
types of things.
What's vegan sushi?
Well, it's without, sushi is usually, or sashimi or something is usually with a fish.
Yeah.
This is with, a vegetable component, like a California
I was
roll.
gonna say, isn't that a California roll?
Well, almost, but I've done something more than a California. I actually call it an Audrey roll. So
There you go.
so I've done some slightly different things with it. But yeah, and I love rolling sushi. I love sushi.
That's an art form.
It is,
It
and I have
is.
mad respect for those sushi.
I do too, and I
chefs,
just can't do it.
Yeah, it's not hard at all. Just after you practice a couple of times, you're a pro at it.
Shit, my rolls come out the size of this cup right here.
I got so much stuff.
I mean, damn it, it's not the same size as what I get at the store.
That's not bad. I'm mad at you. Shoot. Ideally, I would love to have a roll.
Has there been? I mean, have you traveled to any countries outside the U.S. to observe and maybe learn something from different countries and different cultures?
Here's the thing. I've been working since I was 14, and I have never. I've been out. The most I've been outside the country was when I lived in LA for a moment. Some friend, her husband they used to go down to Tijuana, so we went a little further south to Ensenada, Mexico. But I mean, we drove over it really wasn't like, it was just a day trip. It was a day trip. I have never been out of the country. I just recently got my passport, and I have actual travel itinerary for the end of September. I'm going to Vietnam and Thailand, and I'll be there. I'm going to 4 different cities in Vietnam. I'm going to be doing an overnight cruise on the small ship. There's these huge limestone formations, and then I'll be flying over to Phuket and then Bangkok. So and that's the first trip I've ever pictured.
Yeah.
Me breaking in my passport. And I have a beautiful package together that a friend of mine is a travel agent, and she put it together, and I can't wait.
Imagine, yeah.
This is going to be my first. I'm not even concerned about the plane's probably I'm not concerned with any of that. Because if that's the way I'm gonna go, okay, that's how I'm gonna go.
Yeah, never think of that.
No,
That's
not gonna stop me.
Anyway.
Oh no, I don't. And I'm protected anyway.
Yeah.
So for the first time in my life, I'll be leaving the country at the end of September.
That's something to look forward to. Is there a country outside of those two that you would really like to go to?
What I would like to go to outside of that, I definitely want to go. After that, I see myself going to Guatemala, and there's another country that I want to go to. It's in Brazil. It's called Salvador.
Mm-hmm.
And these are some of the most beautiful people that and so they're the Bahia people.
Yeah.
And so I really want to go visit this town, this place in Brazil. So I can see myself really in those. But I'm really not looking. I mean, if somebody gives me a trip to Europe, okay, cool.
Yeah.
But I see myself going to these other smaller countries.
Really, now, just Salvador is more like doesn't it have like a African background to it.
Exactly. Those the
Okay,
Bahia
that's what I
people.
thought.
They are
That's what I
West.
thought.
They are. It was kind of like um, it was a settlement there because a
Yeah.
lot of times we'll talk about the difference between say Black Americans or African Americans here versus say in Brazil. They always say it's just differences a boat stop.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us we look very much the same.
Same, yeah.
It's the same. And so I really want to visit there. I definitely want to go to Belize, especially the southern region, because that was an actual slave ship
Yeah.
that crashed. And towards the north was more of a Latinx or Hispanic,
Right.
and then towards the south were Africans.
And you'd be surprised how many countries in South America have a African background that they
Mhm.
don't necessarily talk about on the mainstream TV or anything like that. You actually have to go there and experience it yourself.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
that's one thing I want to do. Hit South America and some of those smaller countries,
Yeah.
not the big ones like what's the main one that people go to all the time? Chile and well, not necessarily that one. It's the one that has the festivals all the time. But it's
No, like
What continent are you in?
South America. No, that was
You mean Rio?
Rio. Yeah,
Rio,
yeah,
right,
yeah.
right,
I'm
yeah.
making
where
sure,
they're running the
I'm making
bulls
sure
and all.
where you're
Yeah.
at right now. So that's why I can answer
Like
the
Rio
question.
and-
Yeah.
But I feel you on that. I have no desire to really go to any of those larger cities. Now I do have to land in Hanoi, but where I'll be staying, these are small, I think Hainan or something. These are much smaller
Yeah.
towns, and I feel you on that. I just feel like you can really get the crux of what that particular society is like
Yep.
by being in those smaller. I want to go where the locals are,
Yeah, exactly.
and just kind of enmesh myself in those areas.
And that's
And
probably a beautiful experience too.
Oh,
just
yeah.
to go down there and experience history.
absolutely,
That's been there.
yeah, and
And it's
just
a rich history too. not
oh,
to
for
mention.
sure. And I think for the most part, we're indigenous just about in every nook and cranny
Yes.
on this globe. But
Circumnavigated all these the land way
Right.
before anybody else did. So
Exactly. So I really want to. I'm looking forward to that, and then I just understand the food is just exponentially like nothing because a lot of the food we eat is banned in other countries.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and they're just saying, and then it's so inexpensive, and I know there are a lot. There's been an exodus of Americans, black or white, who have moved to these other countries
yeah.
because it's just so much more affordable. And like a lot of times, there's no credit checks, just come with the money,
And they're affordable too.
Exactly.
Very affordable.
Exactly.
You can live like a king or queen down there.
You sure can,
with a
and you don't even
small
have
amount
to
of money.
really cook. You can
Yep.
eat out just about every
Yeah.
day.
Fresh
and
foods.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, and vegetables,
I-
fruits.
yeah.
I can't wait. Oh
So
my God.
when you're going down there to these places that you're going to be visiting, are you going just for food, or are you going for the experience of traveling to that country?
It's a culmination, but I would say probably 75-80% is food. The travel agent has arranged for a private car, and she said I could spend a little less and be in a group, but I want to take my time. I don't want to be on a group timeline.
Yeah.
And whoever the driver is, I want to be, please take me where you eat. And one of the things that I'm definitely looking forward to, the night markets, the food markets. Oh my God. That's probably one of the main things that I'm looking forward to. I probably spend most of my time eating. And I'm, even though I don't really eat beef or pork, I probably will there because it's going to be just a totally different, the way it's
Different, yeah,
processed and
yeah,
everything.
yeah.
And I love fish. So definitely I would say 75% of my trip though is to eat food. And I think I'd like to probably do some type of like little travel documentary and from a chef's perspective, kind of like an Anthony Bourdain. I always kind of thought
He was
You
awesome.
be
Yeah.
cool doing
He was
that.
awesome.
I always-
Anthony,
You would be cool
Anthony
doing
was awesome.
Thanks. And I always kind of thought, that I might have had a chance to have a beer with him some faraway land,
That's too bad he went. I mean, he went out the way he did.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what I mean. It's, a guy with that much talent
hmm
and had the coolest job in the world.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
People respected
Meeting,
him.
eating good, great foods with very important people or
Mhm.
just cool people in
Mhm.
general. So
But it got for him, I think he had some demons, most likely. And there's still some question as to how it really happened, but he did talk about how lonely it gets. I mean,
I can
to us
imagine.
on the outside looking in, we're like, oh man, this guy is fascinating. And he's going to all these amazing places and all of the, meeting, like you said, all of these great people and eating these fantastic foods. But it does wear thin. You get
Yeah.
you get You get lonely.
Yeah.
You're away from your family for God knows how long, and he's in and out of, airports. And so I could see, and I think he went on for like because he started out with the Cook's Tour, and then he had a couple of other shows. And it was all still centered
Yeah.
around food
Yeah.
and in these faraway lands. And I guess it just kind of got to him after a while.
It probably would take a toll on a
Hmm.
person's psyche, or just like you said, being away from people
Right,
you know,
right.
and just being by yourself.
Right. All those, and even though you've got a crew, your friends,
You
with
may,
your
yeah,
production crew and whatnot, it's still nothing like being home. It's still
yeah,
nothing like being in your own space.
right,
So, but by and large, I would love to be able to, kind of not necessarily following that same plan, but something similar to that. I would
yeah,
really
yeah,
like to, and then kind of report not only back as a perspective of, but a chef's perspective to other chefs, as well. I'd kind of like to be able to present, well, and then kind of maybe get a little technical that only maybe chefs and cooks would understand. And coming from that perspective, when I do my what do they call it, like a podcast or so to
yeah.
speak, something like. So that is
What
definitely something I plan to do.
when are you going?
The end of September.
Yeah, make sure you document all this stuff, though, a vlog of
Oh
some
yeah.
sort.
Oh yeah, for
Let's
sure.
ask her to come back.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
Tell
After
her
you
would love
about
to,
travel,
for
yeah,
sure.
after your
tell her about
travels,
her
yeah,
experience over there. That would be awesome.
after your
Yeah.
About her
travels, yeah,
experience.
that'd be great.
Bringing back some souvenirs and stuff, and
that'd
I would love to do that.
That'd be great.
So is it against the law like traveling and bringing food back or shipping food back to over here from over there?
It's tricky now. You kind of have to.
Is there laws against that?
Well, it's not necessarily a law against. Of course, you can't bring back
There's some
like
guidelines
monkeys or
to
whatnot.
it.
But there are some things that you can ship back. There are some things that you can claim. When you're going through customs and stuff. So there's definitely some things that people do bring back. There's some things that you may have to pay duty on. So it kind of just depends
Okay.
on what it
Yeah.
is.
That'd be cool experiences. Like you're saying, when I go to over anywhere or even the United States, like even when I went to Hawaii, I tried. They didn't eat any name brand stuff. I went to these local, like I went to people and said, "Where do you eat at?
Mhm, yeah.
Not where I need to go. Where do
Right.
you eat at?"
Uh,
And a lot of the places were some messed up names, but they were awesome food.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
this experience, and then it was all
Oh, yeah.
fresh
Mhm.
fish, all fresh
Oh,
everything.
see, and that's the tough.
Yeah.
I wish I could. But some of the stuff they're able to, import. There's some places even though it's frozen, there's some places right in Barron Springs, that gets
Yeah.
in coastal foods and stuff. So you do have that opportunity. And of course, when you go to Chicago, you're able to kind of get stuff that they're importing. They have a favorite supermarket on the north side. It's a Thai supermarket, and just about everything comes from Thailand or someplace like that. So you can find places, but in terms of bringing back, I know I'm going to probably be sneaking some spices and stuff. I'm not looking. I already know that. So don't tell nobody. For sure. But yeah, and then to figure out some way to maybe I don't know,
That'd be
figure out a way to do that legitimately,
Yeah.
and set up shop somewhere. I'm always looking for opportunities to still sell food in one capacity or another.
I mean, for a professional type of cook that's out there, which one do you kind of wish you could cook next to if you had a chance?
You mean next to
Like a Bobby Flay,
Oh.
like someone that you
s-
seen on TV, and then,
yeah.
or like an Anthony if he was still alive.
Oh,
But
absolutely. I would have loved to cook with Anthony, but he really, I
He-
mean,
he didn't really cook.
Anthony was a turn and burn. He
Yeah.
really wasn't.
he wasn't really cooking.
Yeah,
anymore.
and as kind of cliche as he be, I would love to have cooked with Emerald Lagasse. It's actually
Really?
they call him Lagasse, but it's
Yeah.
actually Lagasse. I would still love to be able to cook with him. But then there's some other newer chefs, and there's some other. I love Carla Hall. I love her energy. I would love to cook alongside of her. Yeah, there's several chefs out there that I would love to be able to cook next to and just kind of pick their brain or just have fun. We put on some, a great meal together and enjoying. I remember Julia Child used to do that all the time. With all of the greats, Jacques Pepin
Yeah.
and they were very close at one time because she was the French galloping, and she
She usually sometimes baked more.
she
On her shows.
she did a lot of
Yeah.
baking, but she really embraced French cuisine. I don't really care for French cuisine. I feel like it's a little too saucy. It's a little too bland to me.
voice
But
scary.
still just the techniques we all still kind of use in the
Yeah.
kitchen.
Her
But
voice,
yeah.
her voice scared the shit out of
I understand she was a very tall stature,
Yes.
perfect woman.
me. She was like what? I think she was like 5'10", 5'11", honestly.
Yeah, she might have been 6 feet.
Yeah,
something
she
like
was
that.
close.
Mhm.
I know how it is when women are taller than you.
I don't know. That's not. No, I don't care. I look up, say yeah. But hey, you're at the right height right now. Okay.
Well, my
What?
little short ass, I'm 5'2", so I had to wear risers in the kitchen. I mean, it didn't stop me though. They still respected my ass.
They respected because of who you were
Yeah.
and what you could do in the
Mhm,
kitchen.
mhm.
So
Yeah, and it's still fun. I've always pretty much cooked with great teams. Every
Yeah.
restaurant, and that's very important. You're with these people 10, 12 hours a day or more, or less. It just depends. And so they do become your family, not only the front of the house, but the back of the house. And if you have that type of relationship, like when I was cooking at South Haven Yacht Club, very good friends with the front and the back of the house. And though, when we speak about after everybody's gone, we would have the top shelf sit and drink and maybe
Yeah.
throw some wings in the fryer or whatever.
Yeah.
what about you? Who would you want to cook with?
Ugh.
Yeah, come on.
I'm a little intimidated by Chef Ramsay. He
Mhm.
gets in your face.
See,
So I would have to check him off the list.
actually, he's a cool guy. Besides all
Yeah.
the Hell's Kitchen,
Maybe that's
Hell's
TV.
Kitchen is all show.
But he was raised like he came up
Yeah.
in the kitchens like that because I actually worked with a chef like that. It was just
Yeah.
all in your face, and I just don't know how you could expect the food to come out if it's under that type
Right.
of stress.
But
But I would love to cook with Ramsay.
But Hell's
Yeah.
Kitchen, he's totally different. If you look on the other TV shows that he's on, that he does, he's a totally different.
I've been to the Hell's Kitchen in Vegas.
So I go there every time I go. Every
Yeah.
time I go visit Vegas, I
Yeah.
go.
And that was experience alone. You can see the chefs back there
Yeah.
doing the work.
Okay.
It's the same scenario as the show.
It was
because
really cool to
they
see
taped
them
the
working. Yeah.
That's where they taped Hell's Kitchen Vegas. Was in that.
Was it really?
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh okay.
Oh crap.
Was the food good though? I mean, was it okay?
I get the
pretty
beef.
good.
I get the beef Wellington every single
Really?
time.
Yeah, that's
That's
one of
pretty
his
good.
main. That's a staple.
I cut it with a fork.
Oh
You
really?
don't
It's
need to do
that to
that.
know.
Yeah,
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
That was really good, man. I was impressed.
I want to. Since I'll let you think. I have two actually. I want to meet and cook with Chef Marimoto.
Oh yeah. He's that's. Do you ever watch the original?
Yes.
Iron
Chef.
Iron Chef.
Yes, I did.
When it was all in Japanese,
Yes.
and
Still do.
love that.
I still watch it.
Yeah, you can get it on I guess YouTube or something like that. Yeah.
But Frozalone, I'm probably killing his name. He's a new Iron Chef, and he's the one that has like the mohawk, and he came from a butcher.
Oh yeah.
He came from the butcher half, but he's Italian, but he cooks phenomenal.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, his food does look good. It looks really good.
Bobby Flay, I would just want to meet and say, hey, I'm glad you made it all the way up to where you're at, from being a dishwasher to executive chef to an icon.
Yeah.
I would like to know his story, but I wouldn't want to cook with him.
I didn't realize he came from that. I thought his father kind of.
No, he came from the dishwashing up. He worked in a dishwasher, and then he just kept on moving up in the kitchen.
Yeah, because I know he's pretty much Food What Network. He's
an icon.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe it is Chef Ramsay. Because being under that pressure, I mean, makes you perform much better because you want to impress them.
Yeah. So
I guess it would be there.
Yeah, I had it. To me, it was difficult. There was a brand new restaurant that opened. It was called A10 Hyde Park. It was in Hyde Park, Chicago.
Yeah.
And the chef there was Matthias Merges, who was a Charlie Trotter protege. And his chef was, they all came in. I understand Charlie Trotter was a sheer and utter asshole. He did amazing food though, obviously. Underpaid chefs or whatever, but it's just the experience to be able to say you cook with Charlie Trotter. But I do remember cooking in that restaurant, and if stuff didn't come out, he would be all up in your face, and I'm like, and meanwhile, here's the restaurant. This was kind of an open kitchen too. And it's just like, I just don't understand that type of direction coming from a chef to the cooks. If the garnish was a little off or something like that, for them to come back around and kind of get in your face. But I know that was a culture in a lot of kitchens
Yeah.
coming up, which is why Ramsey, because Ramsey was belittled, when he like that when he was coming up through the
I'm sure he
ranks,
was.
by his chef.
This is where he got it from.
Exactly, right. But he has mellowed out a whole lot more. Why not? You've got all these
I've
restaurants.
had one of his burgers too at his burger restaurant in Vegas.
Okay, I heard it's pretty good.
That's pretty good. It was pretty good.
Mhm.
I made it at home.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was pretty good. I didn't think he would be the guy that have a burger restaurant.
Yeah.
So I said, let me test this
It's
out.
Yeah.
fish and chips also.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just concepts, different concepts.
Top of the hour.
So that's good. It is top of the hour. All right, guys, we're at the top of the hour. If you're watching us on YouTube, please like and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the bell and notification button. Not the bell notification button, but the like and notification button, so you can get more content every Monday and Wednesday night at 8 p.m. live on Third Eye Truth Here podcast.
How many more do we need to 300?
What?
How many more do we need to 300?
13.
Not bad.
Yeah, moving right along. But if you're watching, guys, please like and hit the subscribe button right now. It helps the algorithm. It helps us keeps us relevant as a podcast. I appreciate you guys so much. We love you so much. We're at episode 101 right now. I am James Gill, your host. This is Joe Hill, the co-host, and we have Chef Audrey S. Peoples. I said it right this time.
Chef Audrey, yeah.
But she has a whole different hat on her from
Oh, okay.
being a chef,
Yeah.
being, like she said, in a band called
Oh,
Sankofa, yeah.
yes. So, when did you become instrument as far as musically inclined? Were you this young age?
Excuse me, very young age. I was 4 years old when my grandparents gave me a set of bongos. So I started playing hand percussion at a very early age. And that definitely is something that is innate in me. And I went from beating on everything in the house to like, oh, let's get her. And then my parents were very supportive of as well. I remember they bought me a Mickey Mouse drum set when I was 5.
Yeah.
So, but I was formally trained, and this is when Benton Harbor, most of the schools, I remember St. Joe, Lakeshore, all of us had badass bands. So I was formally trained starting in 4th grade summer school, a summer program, and I was classically trained all the way through high school. And so not only that, but so that's kind of where it started at a very early age. And then I was classically trained on drums and percussion. And then just over the years, I kind of just kept at it and had played drums here and there. When I lived in Lansing, I played in a band. And then when I moved to Chicago, I played with a kind of like a soul band. So it was I always had the opportunity to be part of a band, which is really cool. I mean, it was just something that, weekend warrior type thing. And then when I came back from Chicago, Beth Ann, our families go back, Beth Hare, Lewis.
I love that.
Yeah, that's like my girl. She was my sister's age, my older sister's age.
Actually, I saw her Sunday.
Okay.
No, Saturday at Pride.
Okay, yeah. She's definitely a serious ally and advocate.
Yeah.
And when I had my lunch counter restaurant, she was a regular there. She was very supportive, and she was teaching. She would teach water aerobics and stuff, so she would be famished. And I created a sandwich, a pita, just for her. So we started talking because she was like, she did like open stage over at the Livery. Um, and she was like, we had always talked about putting a band together. And so there was a moment where we got an opportunity. Steve Parker, who was a well-known badass pianist, songwriter, everything, and he was available. And she was like, well, Steve Parker is available. Let's see if we can get him in there. And Steve was available. And then Tamika Seawood, who played trumpet, and she's also a singer. So we started out with 4 members, and I'll never forget. We got together in Beth Ann's living room, and I brought part of my drum set in there, and Steve brought his keyboard, and we just started jamming out, just playing whatever. And then before you know it, we started putting together set lists because we started getting invited to play in different places. And Beth has been our manager, so she's always, because she used to, she's her sister, and her Nikki Hare, who sang behind Madonna, and then her father was world renowned.
Yeah.
Um, um, oh my God, her father, pianist, Gene Hare, Gene Harris. And so she just had that natural background. And and I remember the SARS was one of the first places where we were booked. We were working in partnership with a friend of ours who had started doing these cupcake parties. She called it Cupcakes After
Yeah, I
Dark.
remember that.
Yeah,
I
Yeah,
remember that.
yeah.
I remember those.
Patrice Bettison Clark. And so after that, the more we started getting exposure, the more gigs we started getting, and we were playing. I mean, a couple of years ago, we usually do a summer season, and we were playing back to back weekends and stuff like that, just having a blast, man. I mean, and when we get together, there is a certain vibe, there's a certain energy, at least with our band, that you just have to possess, and if you don't really have that, like, well, thanks for coming in and sitting in with us and stuff. But and we've had several people come. We've had different guitarists and other. We've had a saxophonist with Eric Fisher, and so our band has kind of grown. And so now the core is still together. So me, Beth, and Steve, and then we had Falconetti Petty, who was our
Falcon. Yeah.
yeah, our rapper. He
Yeah.
came in.
Yeah.
And he just recently left the band because he's
Oh, he
got
did.
some stuff going on,
Yeah.
and yeah, he's a busy guy. And we're kind of winding down. I think we've got 2 more gigs. In fact, we've got one coming up next Friday for the Crazzle Art,
Yeah.
the block party.
You guys always play that.
Yeah,
last couple
that's
years.
actually about 30, I think. Yeah, and
I like when you guys do that. So is he coming back for that show? Or
no, I don't think. Yeah, he's kind of gone on and doing some other things. But we have Cindy Goodson, who's been with us for a few years now, and of course Skip Birdsong, the blues man. He's our guitarist. But Cindy Goodson was in the industry for a while, and the name of her group was called The Truth. And she's had, she's had success in the industry, and she's got a story to tell about that too that she's going to share. So we all have a little bit of something to offer the band. And I think that's another reason why we just get along so well. And we just, Beth Ann puts our set list together, and she likes to create a story
yes,
because,
yes.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
and she takes pride in that. And it's always a build up. And so we've just kind of grown
I
in this
think-
community.
I think you guys, when you guys played Nardos before, what was it that Friday before Black Joe Lewis?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
you guys played that.
Mhm.
She tells stories throughout her
Yeah.
going through the whole shindig and
Right.
everything else when you guys are
Right.
playing. And
Yeah.
it's the whole bass and the whole vibe, and people love that.
Yeah.
I loved it. I
Yeah,
mean, I
thanks.
love watching you guys play from everything from the livery to here
Yes.
to anywhere else.
Yeah, we played
mean,
the Acorn, and
yeah.
we've a couple of years ago we did some back-to-back stuff. We played in a blueberry field, and then from there, one of the guests that was there invited us to come to his home, which was right outside of Grand Haven, and it was on a dock, and it was interesting. So we have played in some amazing venues. We played in apple orchards. We've played, like I said, in blueberry fields. We've played at yacht clubs, and well, we will pretty much, we love to perform. So we like to accept invitations, and I think we may have a show in August, and that might be one of the last ones of the season. Typically we go all the way into November. We usually start and end at the livery, so we may still do something in November, but right now we're just kind of looking at a short season, and I think that's okay because we're all looking to kind of do some other things. I know Beth is kind of there. She's part of another group called the Soul Food Crew.
Yeah.
So that kind of veers. It's usually her, Skip, Steve, maybe Cindy, and some others, and I'm kind of looking to do some other stuff too. So, but yeah, I love playing with these people. They're definitely my tribe.
Are you looking to play in other bands? You said maybe another venture.
It's possible.
Or is it something more with cooking and everything else, or your venture in that aspect?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely looking to kind of turn the corner a little bit on the cooking, but I'm also kind of putting together maybe like a solo thing, because this would be a mixture of, because I have an octopad, so I've got electronic, I've got an octopad which
Okay.
does a million things,
Yep.
and then of course the congas and then the drum set. So I'm kind of looking to be like this one woman type situation. I'm kind of trying to get off into that.
I am woman, hear me roar.
Something like that. And I'm always, it's always possible to, just guest with other bands as well.
I think you're phenomenal in the percussion.
I
You are.
appreciate that.
You
Thank
are.
you.
I mean, I saw you play. I didn't know that was you actually.
Yeah.
I forgot that you're in the band because every time I see you guys, it's from a distance where I'm at the art fair watching you guys at there, and I can't really see the drums very well,
Right,
Because
right.
you're blocked by everybody
Right.
else.
Yeah, the front. And I'm okay with that because I like to be low key. I like to be back in the cut, chilling.
Because at the art fair one, everybody's in front of you, so you hear what's going on with the drums and percussion and all that, but everybody else is in front of you, so you have to leave.
Yeah, you kind of gotta look
Yeah,
at
see
okay,
who's
yeah,
playing
see.
what?
Yeah.
And then when I saw you at Nardo's, I'm thinking, I think that is her that I've been talking to come on the podcast. It is.
Yeah.
Shit.
And then Beth was like, "Oh yeah, he's been trying to get me on too." So
Yeah, I've been trying to get Beth on with the
maybe,
band.
yeah. Maybe
But,
we can
yeah.
maybe still arrange something like that. That would be really cool. I don't know. Beth would. She's been talking about it. Excuse me. She's been talking about it. And I think she would definitely be a delightful guest.
But for her stories and her stories alone with other stuff she's involved in, like you said, she's a very big advocate for a lot of stuff. And with Ben Harbor, and her story alone would probably just take up.
Oh yeah, she definitely could come on herself.
Because that's why I want her on to talk about her. But also, I would want the band on to talk about the band because you guys are an establishment in Ben Harbor. You guys do rock it out. You guys, your soulful blues sound.
I think we call ourselves an eclectic soul because we draw on a lot of stuff. But then she's a serious HIV advocate, and she's very, very vocal and supportive in the community. So she would definitely fill up a whole show.
That's what we need more of them. People that are more vocal and taking a stand for what they believe in the community. With her doing that, my hat's off. Take my hat off to her. Big time.
She's busy and very supportive though. That she's definitely somebody you want to have supporting your cause.
Now, who in your family was musically inclined? So they got your grandparents got you to drums at an early age, and you played the bongos and things of that nature. Was your parents musically inclined or?
Not really. My dad played a little bit of piano, but that's just kind of stuff that he picked up. My sister did play the saxophone in the high school marching band. But in terms of kind of going beyond that. So my aunt Lois though she was a beautiful vocalist. So it's kind of just in there. I'm not really sure about my maternal side. I really wasn't close to them, unfortunately. But I would definitely credit my aunt Lois, who was like a jazz singer. She just a classy woman, she, Chicago, and we had an opportunity to actually become close. We lived together when I first moved to Chicago. And so she kind of exposed me just to, because Chicago had, back in the 90s, had its own tempo. It's different to me now. But just to have that influence, definitely my aunt Lois, what I would say when Clyde in the family.
Get over there, Joe?
Yeah. I'm telling her she can go.
Oh, you need to go to the restroom. Go ahead. Just leave it on
leave it on
this one right
here.
Leave it on that one right there. So
you just got to go out this door here.
Yeah. Got it right in front of the cameras, which you hate the most.
Actually, you need to still change the camera.
Is it on this one right here?
No.
Yeah, do the multi. Yeah. She knows.
Is it? Oh, I didn't get the.
Yeah, you didn't get it right away.
Yeah, I didn't get it right away.
All right. That's Dana, by the way, guys. She's our new camera person. She's been helping us. We needed that big time.
Yes. Oh, it's catching up. That's why.
There we go. All right.
No, she was texting me. I was tapping to her. Put it on the main camera, then go.
Yeah. That's okay. It's fine.
Hey, we all done it. I've done it on the show. He's done it a couple times.
I've only done it once.
I've done twice.
So don't put me in that category.
Even our guests.
I am good.
No, even our guests have.
Okay, I've gone. Okay,
have gone plenty of times. We have a lot of people them that like
they can't handle it. Well, it is a 2-hour show, so I mean, it can take a toll on you. You're drinking water, kind
Or
of stuff.
not even that. It's just the adrenaline rush is kicking in. Then now we're just settled down.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah.
So actually, I have a couple questions about the musical part because that's what we're talking about now. But what was your first concert that you went to go see?
The first concert I saw was Prince, Dirty Mind.
You saw Prince?
And yeah, and I've been to 4 of his concerts.
Nice.
I was a sophomore in high school, and there was no age limit.
Yeah.
So it was in it was in '83. It was a Dirty Mind concert. It was in Kalamazoo.
Was it dirty?
Yeah,
He was in
was
Wait a minute. He was in Kalamazoo?
Yeah, he was at Wing Stadium.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I always forget about Wing Stadium. I think, where is he in Kalamazoo?
Yeah, and he was the first one I saw, and then I saw
How old-
Roger Zapp Band.
How old were you?
16.
16?
Mm-hmm. And this is before Ticketmaster. You
Yeah,
know, you had
Yeah, I
to
was 10.
sleep outside, you know.
What year?
Are you-
10 years. I was 10 years old.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
She's 6 years older than I am.
I was a sophomore in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the first one, and then I
was
saw
6.
a few more. Yeah. Hey, that's I don't know. I'm the big sister.
So how actually you went from seeing Prince, then your next band was
Roger Troutman.
Roger Troutman.
Mhm. Yeah, he was. But hell, this is when he had more bounce to the ounce. It was a jam.
Yeah.
And
They can all
you
still
know,
jam it.
and those Ohio bands were badass.
Yes.
You know, so it was definitely. And I've always loved. I went to Earth, Wind, and Fire, and
Oh,
that
nice.
you know, I would love to have seen them.
Yeah.
You know, when everybody was still alive and in their
Yeah.
prime. Oh my God, I would have paid.
Actually, I saw them in the 90s.
Okay.
One was still alive.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It was late 90s.
Yeah. I think Verdine is he's still alive.
Well, that's when he was really heavy into touring and all that stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. She saw Parliament too.
I saw George Clinton.
George Clinton.
I saw
Yeah.
George Clinton with Parliament.
They said, I mean, she said she didn't smoke weed or anything, but
Yeah.
she got high as hell.
I saw George
I can
Clinton
imagine.
in the Parliament
I can imagine.
Funkadelics.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw them in
Mhm.
2000s.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of bands. I
Mhm.
have, and I love live music.
I do too.
I have. I've always.
We've
will.
got some really amazing local bands. I love
We do.
supporting. Yeah,
We
I love supporting the local people.
See, me, on the other hand, I didn't really get into live music until I started working at Czars.
Okay.
That's when I started seeing a lot of good bands come through there. And I was like, man, what have I been missing?
Exactly.
What have I been missing?
Exactly.
You-
And
you-
I'm glad
you have
Nardo
missed.
has kind of opened that stage back up.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
because Livery was the only live stage around.
Right,
You know,
right.
when Tom closed Czars, we really missed that live music.
And that was a lot of people enjoy that when that
Mhm.
was open. And he was
Mhm.
there for what 25, 27 years
Mhm.
before it closed.
28.
28 years
Wow.
before it closed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Doing live music. That was
That's extraordinary.
yeah.
And it's a dope space too. You know, it's kind of down there. It's dark. Everybody writes their name all over the wall. You know, it's pretty dope.
Now it's changed so much with the pizza place down
Yeah.
there with Nardo down
But
there.
it's still nice.
It's still nice. I like the way it looks.
Yeah, I like what I like the old school games. It kind of reminds me
Yeah,
of
he
a
has a
Dave and
lot of them.
Buster's
Yeah.
type
Chuck E.
thing.
Cheese.
Yeah, or I
You went Chuck E.
remember
Cheese, really?
what was that name of that place that was out at the plaza was called? I can't-
Okay, we're just talking about the plan.
Yeah.
there was
I know what you're talking about too.
it was a
Showbiz.
it was an arcade place.
No,
Oh,
It was
no, way back. Yeah,
yeah,
before you were
this
born.
was the 80s.
yeah.
This is
Oh,
the
it's
80s.
good.
Before you were
Think of
born,
it
yeah.
I think the name of it.
sometime later on tonight. I was like, oh yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. And I love what Nardos has done with that. I mean, because
Yeah.
there's really nothing like that around.
No, it's not.
And his
It's not.
pizza is really good. And then with the live stage, he's
Yeah.
got the potential to really
Really-
make that a
yeah,
really,
definitely.
someplace to
Now,
really
I'm
come
sure
to.
he needs a lot of bands have their own soundboard or
Mhm.
sound person to do the music for like sound for them, but
Mhm.
That soundboard's still down there.
no, it's not.
No, he gets
Is that a different one?
he gets a different one. He get Josh Engel comes down
That makes a big
and
difference. Then.
doesn't put his soundboard when they
Oh,
play.
really?
Yeah.
Because I thought he had invested in quite a nice sound system before he actually closed it. I thought that one might have been still down there.
No. That was
Okay,
somebody
with
else.
Lance.
Lance.
Yeah,
That was his
okay.
stuff. That was all his stuff.
Oh, okay.
All the lights and all that stuff
Yep.
that he had down there. That was all
Okay.
his stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
And he was a pretty good sound guy too.
when
Yeah, he
When
was.
you guys played, actually, when you guys played, Mark got the stuff.
Mark, yeah.
He got all the stuff from Josh Ingle.
Oh, really? Okay. I thought all of that was done.
No, I take it back. Lance was a good sound guy, but it was somebody else's sound equipment. It was Gary.
Oh.
Gary.
Was it Gary's?
Yeah, it was all Gary stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
And he's another good sound guy. And Lance really good. He was
Yeah, and he knew how to mix us because a lot of people don't know how to mix us.
Yeah.
And
well, that's the kind of music he grew up with too. So so he enjoyed it.
Yeah, he's really good. And actually John DeWitt is pretty good over the livery.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm more shocked you saw Prince.
I know it's
God,
16. There was no age restriction back then.
Hey, don't feel bad. My first concert, I was 14 and I saw the Grateful Dead. So.
Hey, well, there you go. I mean, come on, those people, you know, and they have people travel.
I
with
was
them.
14 when I saw them at Madison Square Garden. And
there too. That sounds life changing.
At the Garden, that's a huge venue.
Yeah, that's big time.
So, yeah,
that probably was packed, wasn't it?
It was
sold out.
I just there was a bunch of people, and I had to stick with my aunt, and my aunt was a deadhead, and she told me, do not grab anything from anybody. Don't touch anybody or don't grab or taste anything from anybody. But I saw one of those balloons and I thought it had a bunch of helium in it, and I said, I want one of those, and I grabbed one.
Something else in there.
And she grabbed it and said, no, this is not what you think it is. And then she puffed on it and went, and then she started on a trip. No, then she started talking. I said, it's not what you think it is. Your voice is not changing. This stupid.
She'll change though.
Exactly. I make the concert. That's
I mean, but then I got into more live music after that because I did see a lot of shows. Then I was part of Venetian, and then I got get to see more shows, and everything else out there was awesome.
At 14, you wanted a balloon?
Yeah, I thought it was helium. I wanted to talk funny.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to talk funny.
I got it. I got it now.
Yeah, I wanted to talk funny. I like that kind of shit.
I like helium too. That's kind of funny. Flipper McGee's. That's what it was called.
Yeah. I remember now.
But yeah, I mean,
Flipper McGee's. I forgot all about that.
We were in high school, and that was the place for us to go.
So James, what was your first concert that you seen?
I'm not going to that again. You're not setting me up for that. You're not setting me up for that. I told you I didn't appreciate live music till I started working as ours. You're not making me fall into that.
Come on.
He laughs at me all the time.
He doesn't know.
I told him.
It was still a great concert.
My first concert actually was the Rough Riders Cash Money tour.
Oh yeah, that sounds dope.
It was the DMX coming over.
How old were you?
I was in late 20s.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't have the opportunities. Nobody put me on to live music.
That's cool too.
It's still a great concert. I told him.
Yeah.
But it's just funny how his first concert.
He makes fun of me all the time.
I know because
his first concert was DMX.
But
DMX
came over in the cage over the crowd. Everybody's passing out joints and
yeah, I saw DMX.
That reminds me of the Fresh concert, which was also in Kalamazoo. I remember I had a hearing loss big time.
I never
so
seen
loud.
anything.
MC Hammer was out there at that time. Fat Boys was there.
Oh man, Fat Boys.
I
remember that. Yeah. Actually, I had their cassette.
Yeah, I had their album.
Yeah.
I didn't like albums until I hit 16.
I have a bunch of albums now. A lot of them do.
When I started DJing, actually, that's when I really liked albums because it was easier to DJ with a bunch of albums.
Yeah.
That's nothing like that. Nothing like the crate.
Yeah, I had my milk crates. I got milk crates from my grandfather when he ran a grocery store. So I got all my milk crates from him and put all my records. So yeah, music's music.
Yeah, I mean, that
music's soulful.
Different era. Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter. Like we always talk about, and you can probably answer this question because I already know his. Just going into your car and just popping something in and just laying back and just listen to it all the way home.
Oh yeah.
He loves listening to country time to time.
Okay.
Yeah, I get into it.
Yeah, I mean,
because
like
I put it this way: I'm a big hip hop fan.
Yeah.
And today's hip hop is not
it's whack.
Yeah, it is. So I try to, because that's all you hear on the radio now. So I would just like try something different to get me away from that type of music now. And I'm sure that the older people that when I was younger thought that hip hop was crap.
Mm,
I
yeah,
play it.
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
That's 'cause they
totally
were-
understand, but
Mhm.
it is really crap right now.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
you know, with the autotune bullshit
Yeah,
and
yeah.
just there's the mumble and all that.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's no meaning behind
Right,
it.
and the message has been totally
Oh.
destroyed.
You remember how they used to have conscious rap?
Oh yeah.
You know, they had
Mhm.
a Tribe Called Quest.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Queen Latifah.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys, and that stuff got pushed to the
Slum
side.
Village. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
Slum
just
Village,
yeah.
What else? De La Soul.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's
They pushed them all to the side.
right. Right. But
And
you
these-
know, I hate the way they took over the industry.
Yeah.
Because it was all very conscious. It all started out that way.
Yeah.
And the messages started getting to the demographic that they wanted to make money off of. So they turned around where, you know, that earlier rap that had that different tempo, da, 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 you know, and then it went
Boom, bap,
from them
boom, bap.
calling women freaks to calling them bitches and hoes.
Yeah, yeah,
And then that just started selling, and then it just dissolved
Yeah.
after that.
yeah. Well,
So-
I think they set it up that way to where they could break down certain people and blame it on that type of music,
Mhm.
and they did that.
Right.
They did
Right.
that.
Right.
And now that when Two Live Crew came out, and
Mm.
you know how that was a
Yeah, I
big
remember that.
taboo
Yeah.
type of deal,
Mhm.
and Uncle Luke went
Luke. Mhm.
fought Supreme Court to get
Mhm.
his album played because
Right.
now you have to stamp that
Right.
advisory stamp on
Mhm.
every album that's out of control.
Mhm.
But for him to stand up for what he believed in,
Right.
which was monumental for rap at that point in time.
Right. Yeah, and I remember hearing his underground stuff. And yeah, I was in college. I was a freshman in college at that point. I'm really judging myself.
Yeah.
But I remember the beat was badass, you
Yeah,
know, and
yeah.
you could definitely go in the club and dance to that. Whereas a lot of that other rap, you know, you could just sit back. You know, I loved the Public Enemies and
Yeah,
the X
yeah.
Clans and you know and all of that really, you know, and then even Tupac. Pac had a message. He was very, very intelligent
Yeah,
for
he
his
was.
age.
He was.
You know, but it was his family too. His mom and his aunts were all
Yep.
Black
Panthers.
Panthers, and
Yep.
so he got that knowledge firsthand. And he was telling the young cats out there, look, stay away from this, don't do that. And I really feel like they needed to get rid of that messenger, because he was, you know, his delivery was very poetic. It was rough, it was tumble, but there was still a message in there because he was speaking to a certain demographic.
Yes.
And he
yes.
was teaching them at the same time. And they were trying to turn that demographic into more of the bullshit that is out there now.
Right.
And I really feel like that's another reason why, you know, he came to the demise that he did. And plus he was from the suburbs for the most part. I mean, Pac really, and he was an actor, you know, he
Yeah,
was a poet
yeah,
more
yeah.
than anything else.
Went
But
to
he wanted
school
that
for
lifestyle, and so he started hanging out with the Shoot Knights, and who was nothing but a
Thug,
gangster.
yeah, thug.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so they started getting that, you know, those people started getting into rap because they found out that was money too. So it's really the dynamic.
Album that you can play from front to back.
You know, all types of music. I was a house head too. As much as I was a hip hop head, I was more of a house head, especially living in Chicago. I'd be in the house music all night. But there was one album that I heard when I was very young. And see, the beauty about being the age that I am, I was there when James Brown was still dropping stuff,
Ooh.
and the Spinners and
Yeah.
the Temptations. And then my sister, who was older than me, had the Michael Jacksons and the Barcades and the
Yeah.
Laxis and the EDFs. But there was one album that my dad bought, and I still listen to it. And I listened to it all, and I love playing with the album cover. It was a double album. It was by Isaac Hayes, and it was
man.
Isaac Hayes live at the Sahara Tahoe. And this was a live album
I have that
because Isaac, he played the vibes, and he was a master vocalist and a saxophonist. So this
I
was an
never knew
all-around
that,
show.
being a saxophonist.
Yeah. And his album cover is really cool because you would open the doors. It was at this play, you know, you would open the doors on this album cover, and there he was. I played with the album cover while I listened to it. But every single song, you know, and of course he did Shaft too.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
that was live on there. But there was a couple of songs, Do Your Thing, which is just the baddest, most funkiest ass song I had ever heard. So and I played that from front to back, and you know, and I do, and yes, I am an herbalist and I believe in cannabis for healing, but I love to, smoke a little blunt and listen to Isaac Hayes, and
Puts
so
me in the mood to listen to
yeah,
music.
so that is definitely one. And in fact, I would really want to replace that because I've bought it several times. I had my dad's for the longest, and it got lost in the move a good 10, 15 years ago. But that would definitely, and then of course every single Prince album. His first one, Prince for You, when he was only like 18 or 19, and he did every single vocal, every single instrument. So definitely Prince's albums, and Isaac Hayes I
Yeah.
listen to front and back.
Probably mine. I hate to say it. It's not hate to say it. I
No,
love.
don't
I
hate
love.
to
I
say
love.
it.
I love
Yeah.
actually the Isley Brothers.
Oh yeah,
Isley
Mhm.
Brothers and Al Green.
Yeah.
I'm.
Oh yeah.
I'm old school. I can't help it. I'm
Mhm.
probably the youngest one here.
Well, you got
But-
you got an old soul.
I do.
Put it that way.
Yeah.
I do. I mean,
You got an
those
old soul.
those songs right there, you can just pop it in and just hear
Mhm.
every single note.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isley Brothers they just rock it out because they could talk about they could go from one song talking about anything to get really raunchy
Mhm.
and the song in between the sheets. I mean,
Right.
you
Mhm.
get every single thing
For sure. Yeah.
from.
Mhm.
It's
But
just-
that was music, and I think that's another reason why a lot of people, older or younger than me, hang on to that old music because
Yeah.
it's just not made anymore.
Right.
A lot of times, these guys play the instruments just like your Isaac Hayes,
yeah.
your Princes. They all played the instruments and they did the vocals, and there's just the musicianship is just not there anymore into music. So that's why people still hang on. That's why I hang on to mostly old stuff. I try to listen to some of this newer stuff, and I do give it a chance. I love Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah.
That's a young brother that I can listen to, and I'm gonna
He
root
has
on.
he has an old soul.
Yeah, he
I'll tell you.
does. He
Yeah.
does, and he's had whatever support he's had. It's been good support,
Yeah.
and he hasn't really had anybody lead him off into a direction that would have taken him away from his
Exactly.
his brand. So
That's always good that
yeah.
you get that person that doesn't listen to the bullshit. Doesn't
Mhm.
listen to, hey, go this way.
Mhm.
Come to the dark side and you'll sell more records.
Right.
He doesn't care about the money. He wants
He's
to produce.
family-oriented.
He wants to produce
For the
music.
most part, yeah. And even with that, if you saw the halftime show, that was brilliant.
Yeah.
It was
lot of
absolutely
people
brilliant. It
have
was a
problems
lot
with
to
that, though.
unpack. Some people didn't like it because they were expecting more, whatever.
Right.
Some people just didn't want to look into the message that he was definitely
Yeah.
conveying. And it was about the music industry for the most part.
Yeah.
Excuse
That's exactly what it was about.
me. Sorry about that.
You're okay. It's okay.
Yeah, I
Now, I was at work when this was going on. I never
Yeah, we
actually-
watched it at work.
I never really got the chance to sit down and listen to that whole halftime show.
oh yeah.
I think I would probably
yeah,
enjoy it
you
a lot
need
more if I
to,
did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And it was cool just watching it real time.
Yeah.
We didn't really watch the games. I'm not really into, I used to be heavily into football. I used to have football pools and all that shit. But when Cap started kneeling and I realized I stood with Cap.
Yeah.
Kaepernick. But I still love football. So we really weren't watching the game. We were waiting for that halftime.
Yeah.
And
Most people do
I
that
didn't
way,
expect, I didn't expect that. And I loved every single minute. Everything was the symbolism and everything, right down to his dance steps,
Yeah.
the colors on stage,
Oh,
of
yeah,
course,
yeah.
the all black cast.
Yep.
Just it was a lot to unpack.
a lot of symbolism going
Yeah.
on. Yeah.
Mhm. And even with Samuel L. Jackson
Yeah.
coming
Yeah.
on as the Uncle Sam and
Yeah.
having that message, I thought it was brilliant. So I love him.
What about yourself?
What?
What was the question before that? You asked her about.
I already asked.
Oh, you asked about the album she can
Yeah.
listen to.
Mm.
Yeah. What about you? Oh, you said that.
I said
Is it my turn?
Yeah.
Oh shit! I've been waiting. You know what? I've been big fan of Dr. Dre because he used a lot of old samples,
Mhm.
old albums,
Mhm.
and puts it into his music.
Mhm.
And you know what? It's a funny thing. I was listening to the radio, and it's a Dre Day. It was one of the songs that I've heard before, but I finally heard the sample where he got it from. Now my mind was blown. I said, I've heard that before.
Yeah.
I mean, it is so cool they can take a little bit of something out of one song and use it and make a big song out of it.
Mhm.
It's really cool like that.
Yeah.
So the Chronic, I can listen to that
Okay.
from front to back
All right.
because it has so much so many different sounds in it.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
not just the lyrics. It's a lot of the sounds alone just kept me captivated to a degree where I just couldn't listen to that the whole. And plus, first time I heard it, I was really high.
Okay.
And,
Apropos, very apropos. Yeah.
and I heard that whole album. I was like, I have to have this album.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, I like how he produces because he produced all Eazy-E stuff, and he's a mad scientist behind that producer stuff and all that.
And another one,
Yeah.
pre
Yes.
Kim Kardashian, Kanye was great.
Yeah, his very,
I
you
like
know,
how you say
sophomore,
that,
you know,
I
that
like how you said
very,
that.
yeah. When his mother was still alive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was, you know, and I got into
He
Kanye
has great
and
samples on,
yeah.
on a lot
and
of
he
old
was a
samples.
master. He was selling it.
Yeah.
I understand he was selling beats for like $100,000 a beat.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
just how.
yeah.
But you know, it all goes back to that just that mastermind of say Jay Dilla. You know,
There you go, out of Detroit.
yeah,
Yeah.
Dilla. He. Now you talk about a mastermind
Yeah.
of especially samples and the musical knowledge.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know that he
You're
had.
talking about crates.
Oh yeah.
This man
This
had
is-
albums galore.
Yeah, and he
They-
produced a lot of people.
Yes.
And he has a particular sound that you already know. That's Jay Dilla.
I still like Grandmaster Flash.
Really?
Yeah.
And that's the old school. Let's go.
Yeah, that's real old school. Yeah.
That's real old school.
Mhm.
I'm an
With
old
boom
soul.
bap.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what
it
you
makes
like.
him wonder
I'm an
sometimes
old
how you keep him
soul.
going.
Huh? If that's what you like, being
Yeah.
I was
was-
Grandmaster Flash was good in my younger years, but once I heard like a lyricist like Eric B and Rakim,
Mm-hmm.
that blew my mind.
Oh,
That,
yeah.
that
Oh, yeah.
freaking blew my mind because
Yeah.
he never cursed in his album,
Right.
but he had these lyrics that were you have to listen to it over and over again
Mm-hmm.
to catch on to what he was saying. It was like blew my mind. I figured it out.
And that was cool because that's when you could still understand the lyrics.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
you could that. You know, I remember a lot of people getting into. You know, getting it further into it, and when the tempo changed and the delivery changed, and as it started to progress, you know, that '90s hip hop was some really,
Yeah,
you know, really.
That's
That's when you had the
that's when
roots.
music was music.
Yeah, you know, you
Yeah.
had the roots
Black
coming
Thought.
in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh man, he was good.
Mhm.
I like the Roots. They were
Oh
awesome.
yeah,
There's-
yeah, very good band. You know,
yeah.
and a couple of them have died now.
Yeah.
But I remember, you know, that feeling, you know, that's when Erykah Badu
Yeah.
and Jill Scott, all of them used to perform together all the time between Philly and
Outkast.
New York.
Outcast and all those. Yeah.
Yeah,
I like
Andre,
Macy
yeah.
Gray.
Mhm.
Macy Gray was phenomenal voice.
Oh my God, you know, and
Man.
you know another one, and she's kind of gotten is Jaguar Wright.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
Jaguar,
Yeah.
you know, and she had a lot to say
Yeah.
about Diddy
Oh
and
yeah.
all of
A lot
that
of-
stuff.
Jay-Z
You know, and like,
everybody,
how
yeah.
does she know all of this? Because she was in there.
Yeah,
You know,
she
she
was
was
right in
all
the
in
middle
the,
of it.
yeah, she was right in the middle. She
Well, who
witnessed
wasn't
a
in the
lot.
middle of it? All his
Well, a
parties?
lot of them
No,
were.
sure. Yeah.
You know, a lot of, but she was all in. You know, she
Well,
just
she was
knew
an
a lot.
artist for
Yeah.
he was it Diddy at one point? No, she was
she-
Def Jam. Def Jam.
Right,
Def
right,
Jam.
and you know, and she was actually before your Erica's, and
Yeah.
and of course your Jill Scott's, and she kind of talks about how Jill kind of took. But Jill has her own thing. I mean, Jilly from Philly is my girl.
Yeah.
But Jaguar is very, very talented.
Yeah.
Badass. So she's
I'm
she just
surprised she's
kind of,
still not doing
you know,
it
she
anymore,
just
though.
kind of, you know, went a little,
Yeah.
you know, and I think the industry will definitely do that, especially if you stay in it and do those sacrifices and things that you have to do to stay in that industry. It'll,
Man,
you
you
know,
have to do a lot of crap to be in that.
mhm.
Stay on the top.
That stuff is realistic. I mean, all that stuff that she was saying, that stuff happens, you know, especially to women in the industry. It's very, very, very hard. And the men too, the young men, you hate to hear about.
Yeah, especially
the
the
stuff
ones that are off the streets
Right.
and trying to make it big.
Mm-hmm.
They would do anything
Right.
to make that money.
A lot of sexual abuse and you know.
We were talking about it a week ago.
The
The sexual abuse of when like P Diddy and with
with
Usher,
with Usher and
with
man.
Bieber and
yeah.
you know,
That's
and
bad.
so many other. I mean but they'll tell you that that's what you had to do. You know, if you really wanted to be in that industry.
See, my thing is we were talking about even Jay-Z when we were talking about the whole thing.
Yeah, he
And
had his part in
he
it.
had
A
his
lot
part
of
in
it.
it.
Mhm. Oh yeah,
But he's
when he was
still
younger.
one
Yeah.
phenomenal rapper. I'm more East Coast when it came down to it. I was a Jay-Z fan ever since he
Well, he's a
started
great
up.
artist. Don't get
When
me
he first
wrong.
started up. I mean, I still like R. Kelly's music and
Oh.
all the shit he's done,
Yeah,
but
I know
still,
so
I love
I
R.
have
Kelly.
canceled R. Kelly because I know personally there's some shit that went down.
Yeah.
because of him.
You know,
See.
personally?
I don't know
Oh.
him personally, but I know
Oh.
people who were personally injured by him.
Oh,
Really?
see?
Yeah.
Sorry
Yeah.
to hear that, but I just like the
But
lyrics.
just those. I mean, Diddy, Jay-Z, R. Kelly. they were all intertwined anyway.
Yeah, they were all, yeah.
And think about it. R. Kelly was married to Aaliyah, and she was what, 15?
Yep.
Yeah.
Jay-Z wanted Aaliyah. He wanted her so bad. She married, messed around with the
Dame
Dash, yeah. And after that, she was killed.
And in the wind. And it's unfortunate because that was right at the forefront of her career, and a lot of people said that she was taken out because they want Beyonce wasn't shit.
No, she wasn't.
While
that.
Aaliyah was still around.
Yeah.
And so, there's all that speculation. She didn't want to get on that plane. She had already said
They had to drug her.
They had to drug her.
Yeah.
She was not awake when they put her on that plane.
Yeah.
So, and you hear about those stories that come out, and of course, just how devastating it was to the industry. But that's how that industry was, or is for the most
Still is
part.
to this day.
Right.
Well, you think about another female rap artist, Foxy Brown. Jay-Z messed around with her.
Yeah.
Before,
Lil' Kim.
She was
Lil' Kim.
But she was in love with Biggie.
Yeah.
The same time he was married to what's her name? Faith, and Faith went on and stole money from TLC. So in industry, the music industry, you have to, it's definitely a dog eat dog. And lots of
well then after Aaliyah was killed, and of course the Beyonce made it big after that.
Oh yeah, she blew up
Destiny's
after
Child.
that. Right.
My daughter's named after Aaliyah.
Oh really? I love that name too. It's such a beautiful name.
Destiny's Child. And she broke off on her own.
Yeah, then she went solo. And kind of just left them, to their own. But they were working on that. But that's the industry.
Yeah.
She may not have been the most talented, but she had the look and the dance and the desire and all of that. And she had parents who were.
Well, I loved her Super Bowl halftime show. That had she hooked.
She's had her moments. Beyonce's had her moments, but I'm definitely not part of the Beehive, and I will refuse $4,000 to go see that.
I would not buy an album or anything like that, but I would.
I would not buy one of the seats for her.
No,
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. $4,000 for, and she does it right around tax refund time too. So
she knows.
She'll come after your tax.
She knows who's getting their money.
She's a master at that. I ain't mad at her getting her money though, but still, just at some point.
Oh, even Taylor Swift. No offense, she's
same way.
And she's in that cult too. She's part of that cult. We're talking about a lot of black artists. A lot of those white artists are in that same cult. They're in that same. Lady Gaga. All of them are. All of that cult. And it's not the nicest.
The thing that kills me with going with all the music is Beyonce. She dominated in all her stuff that she's ever done. Now she wants to dominate in country.
Didn't she win the art album of the year?
Yeah, and I mean that's
Cowboy Carter.
But here's the thing: the people forget country music started in the black community, as did blues. It's and they're making it seem like just because it's a predominantly white genre, it doesn't mean that that the roots aren't in every genre of music starts in the black community.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, but hers was just more of a money thing. I think they paid some money to put it up there, and of course, payola is still very much out there. They're still paying these radio stations to play her music and put it at the top of the rotation.
You ever listen to like just for instance, like African tribe when they sing together, so harmonic.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, awesome. It sounds like. I mean, they're in tune with each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
it's a beautiful sound.
It is. I love, especially South African. I love to hear. It's definitely coming from the soul. It's coming from a place of pain. It's coming, but again, it is that timbre. It is that harmony. It is very and then they always have the dance steps, which are very powerful and very moving. And I often tear up when I hear. But something else that makes me tear up is a haka. Those Polynesian tribes.
Oh man, that gets me going. That gets me going.
Yeah.
Yes, that
gets me.
Yeah,
that gets me going because I looked up some of the lyrics and what they're speaking and what they're feeling. I mean, I had to because I wanted to know what the fuck are they talking about first.
Right.
For what?
Right.
But they're doing it because it was part of like a war tribe, and it's the meaning before they go into battle, and it's this lifting up their spirits.
I mean, it's
intriguing,
it's so moving.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
another thing that I just feel all in myself, and I don't think there's a connection there. But
Every
it's
hockey,
definitely in one
I mean,
way.
not hockey, every football game before Hawaii plays anybody,
they
they
do
do
that.
that.
Yeah.
And then
They
that's,
get everybody involved too, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's just the thought of I don't know, being harmonic. I mean, just being in tune with each other as a group. It stems way back.
It
Way
does.
Back, way
It's
back.
definitely something innate. There's
Yeah.
something in there. I think that's another thing that goes back with Sankofa. The whole Sankofa comes from an African ideal. There are Dinkra symbols, and there's probably 115, 20 of them now. And I have about 4 of them tattooed on my body. Sankofa means reaching back to the past and bring it into the future for a better future. And it's from the Akan tribe, the Ashanti. Um, and and so a lot of that, is rooted in that foundation. Again, that's why, when I speak about our group and how there's a certain vibe and there's a certain energy, and it kind of goes across the board when you look at these other genres of music and they look and how deep it goes. That's the beauty about music.
Oh yeah.
And how it can bring something up within you that you didn't really know that you possessed, that you have a certain way that you feel after you hear it, certain song that you might put on repeat. I love the way music can reach you like that, and it's phenomenal to be able to actually perform it and have the ability to perform it, let alone sitting and just listening to it and enjoying
Well, I
it.
mean, I enjoy music that they bring out an emotion. in you. I mean, whether it's brings tears to your eyes. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not even like sad tears. It's just like tears of joy.
Right.
or
Or
not
just
even that. It goes with a memory that you had in the back of your head.
Yeah.
And it just brings it back out. Like, that one moment when you were happy, or that one moment you heard that first time you heard that song, and you're going back to that image, and you tear up.
Yeah, and that's the beauty about music. And there's always a song in there that people can just identify with. Whatever they're
Yeah.
going through,
Oh yeah.
it's a song for it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm a big tearer. I tear up on.
Oh yeah, I am too. I get emotional.
I get emotional
I
when I
get
hear
emotional,
songs. I
yeah.
do.
I literally catch myself, man. If it's a song that's really good, I'll not even being sad or anything. It just brings a tear of joy to my eye.
Yeah.
And it's the most beautiful feeling I've ever had.
It
in my life.
is. It really hones in on your humanness.
Yes.
And that's something that's amazing.
But there are songs that I don't want to hear because it's too emotional and it's too deep, and I would never want to hear that song again because I this makes me just,
I understand that.
Yeah.
I can't do it. Where I all of a sudden I hear that song, I got to walk out of the building or anywhere I'm at, or right away turn that
I don't
damn
think
song
I would
off.
have too many of those songs that
I have
make
one.
me upset where I can't listen to
And I
it.
love the song, but I can't do it.
Yeah. That's I mean, music is a beautiful thing, and
Yeah.
I'm glad. So, I mean, it's a part of everybody's life. Maybe it's the frequencies that we get from those.
That could be it too.
Songs
There are
or-
definitely frequencies and hertz and certain things, because I listen to a lot of frequencies when I go to sleep.
Me too.
Lots of different hertzes, where there's a chakra aligning or bringing prosperity or something. There's
Why'd you look at me when
No, because I was going to ask her about the rocks.
oh yeah,
I mean, I know they have some value to it.
absolutely.
Yeah. So that was my next question. But go ahead and finish what you're saying.
Not only do I use herbs in healing, but I also, for myself, but also minerals and gems and crystals, and we have some magnificent ones right on our beach. A lot of these. This one in particular is a rose quartz, and it's for heart health, and of course because I had heart situations. And this one is lapis lazuli, which is a protector right now. The blue one, yeah, it's beautiful. I also have a black obsidian. This is a protector because there's some fucked up energy out there right now. So
I like how you say that.
So so I wear the crystals not only, and I use it in my practices in healing, but I also wear it as well for my own healing.
I have a collection of stones and crystals at my house where I cleanse, thoroughly, and just keep the bad vibrations out of my house.
Absolutely, the energy.
Really?
Yeah.
Right. This is something you didn't know about me, but I do.
Good
I
for you.
love get
Awesome.
sunlight, moonlight,
Sunlight, even sage. White
I have
sage.
sage at my house too. So
Really?
If you ever been in my apartment, man, I'm telling you, you'll see this stuff. Yeah, but yeah,
you learn something new every day.
I definitely get
The
into
funny
that.
thing is, we've been friends and brothers for about 20 years.
Yeah,
I'd never
well,
been at his
and I
house.
just recently got into this in the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
Last
Now more than ever, because that's a whole nother section in the show. What's going on astrally right now, and what is actually up there right now. And there's some of us who do feel that, and know that it's present, and it's just a matter of time. And then it's just others, just I think, it's interesting because people who visit me, especially if they're coming from Chicago or from out of town or whatever, and they come to this area and they always say, you guys are different here. And I think a lot of it is, I think we're definitely definitely more definitely more laid back. We're definitely we speak to one another, and we don't have to know one another. But I really feel like that beach, every grain of sand is a mineral.
Yeah.
And I really feel like being raised on a beach, definitely, I feel like it makes us a little different. I think we're a little more in tune. We're a little more. It's just kind of hard to explain, but I do notice that a lot of people who come visit, first of all, the air is a lot different. Yeah, and I think the beaches have a lot to do with it. There's a very medicinal to ground. It's very easy to ground and root here. Walk barefoot.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
I live right on the beach. I've been down there. I've been down there since I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
So I understand because people look at me and says, "You're just laid back, chill."
Yeah.
Why are you so mellow? I just go
Mhm.
with the flow. I mean, why? It's like I'm a air and water sign. So I just go with the breeze and the water.
Yeah,
I really don't care.
Yeah. And even though I'm a fire sign, I still very much the lake literally calls me. I mean, sometimes and I go down and I'll sit on the beach for I don't know how long, just maybe at the water's edge, and it is so medicinal and meditative and thankful. It makes you thankful.
See, I live right by a bluff that overlooks all the water, so
nice.
I sun gaze a lot.
Oh yeah.
And that helps me
Absolutely.
relax. Yeah. So that and meditation, definitely, I get into that too. So
yeah.
I'm glad I found that.
You can cross your legs.
Found it, huh?
You can cross your legs.
I'm not that flexible, but I can
You
to
can if
a
you
degree,
need
to a degree. But
Okay.
but I'm glad to have that in my life now, where I can just like something that calms me and brings me back to where I need to be.
Yeah.
Grounded state of mind, so to
Yeah,
speak.
absolutely. And I think we're kind of lucky and blessed to be able to have that ability right at our back door. And you lived on, and I remember going down to the beach. My parents, we used to go down to the beach every weekend. So I grew up on these beaches too, Gene Clock, and of course Rocky Gap.
I love Rocky Gap.
Yeah,
I like
do
what they
too.
did to it more now. There's more Rocky Gap is more of a beach that it used to be, where you can just take your kids and go down there.
Right.
But
right.
these ones here are just
Right. Rocky Gap has always been kind of the local
Hager.
beach to go to during tourist season.
Or Hager is really nice.
Okay.
too.
Yeah. I've been. Yeah, I have friends who have access to a private beach.
Yeah. I mean, it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
We're lucky to be where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, we get mad when the Chicago people, we get mad where everybody buying up the land and everything else. But the people are in this town that are outskirts that come to the water and everything else. We should be happy that we still have this.
Yeah.
Right by the lake.
Right.
And
in
the
area.
Disasters and things of that nature, tornadoes,
it's beautiful.
Hurricanes,
right.
And all that stuff.
And our weather really is, we're only more about 3 months. I get that part, either 8 months where it's cold as hell, but I still appreciate whatever seasons that we have.
Changing the seasons.
I like
and I love our sun exposure. That's why we have so many wonderful wineries, because of our soil and our sun exposure.
Yeah.
I love wine.
And where we just land, on the whole scheme of things. Especially when you go up further north. My friends and I went up to Empire last fall, and it was a very progressive community. I was kind of shocked, but just the air, and
where's that at?
it's almost to the top of the Lower Peninsula without going to the UP.
So it's
almost
past,
like
it's past Leland.
It's right around Leland.
Okay.
It's past Traverse City. It's a little further north.
So it's up in Leland Peninsula and all that.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I was trying to figure. I never heard this.
Yeah, Empire Bear. What's it called? Bear something. But it's beautiful up there, and I love just And then we drove down. When we came back down, we drove along the lakefront. Breathtaking. I'm like, wow, this is state. This is my state. You know. So I'm very proud. I'm a very proud Michigander. You know, we've got some beauty here.
Complain about it too much because of the change of the weather. But that's the great. I think this is part of the being here. You have you can see those different changes.
Right.
And take a drive during fall. Most
the
beautiful thing.
Colors
are so
Oh
beautiful.
my God.
Yeah.
And
Breathtaking.
And like people that lived in this town, grew up in this town, I never said it, but a lot of my classmates always did. I hate this town. This town sucks. There's nothing to do. Well, and the people in this town just were ruining it for me. I said, yeah, it's the people in the town that makes anything bad. The town is a town. You can't say, no, this town sucked. You can't. It's the people in the damn town that made it ruin it bad for you. If you don't like the town, get out then.
Exactly.
I wouldn't
And let
say
someone
that.
else get it.
I would say you make the best of
Yes.
any situation where you're at. It doesn't matter if you're here in Mexico. It doesn't matter.
True that.
Make the best situation. Your situation, the best situation.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
if you're gonna complain about it, you're gonna get bad things to come back to you.
Right. Exactly.
And
So
It's what you're putting out. It's what you're putting out, projecting out into the world. It's gonna come back to you.
Absolutely.
You have that negative state of mind. You can be in a negative state of mind for most of your life.
Exactly.
Until you change
and go somewhere else.
And that was one of the things I was bound to determine while I was here. I did not honestly think I was going to be here as long as I can, but I have made the best of it, and I wanted to make sure that I wanted to help change the narrative about Benton Harbor as much as I can while we're here. And I think the support has been amazing. You know, just all the way around, and just having the Twin Cities. I think there's an understanding and there's a respect among both St. Joe and Benton Harbor in particular.
I thought you've done.
So yeah, it's pretty cool.
All right. We have 5 minutes. We do our final thoughts. We go around the table. You can do shout outs to whoever you want to, your next upcoming events, if you want to do that. And we'll start off with you.
Okay. Quickly, please catch Sankofa, as we've talked about. My band will be performing at the Krauser Art Fair. The beginning, that's going to be the block party, which is that Friday. The actual art fair starts that Saturday and Sunday. I believe there's just a little under 200 artisans. Please come out. The block party, I believe, is $10, but it's very much worth every penny. There'll be food trucks and beer and just a really great time. It was a diverse crowd that came out and supported us last year. Also, catch me, Souls Ground Foods, down at the Farmers Market, Ben Harbor's Farmers Market, from 10 until 3 on Wednesdays. I'll be there. Actually, this Wednesday I was going to take it off, but I think I'm going to be down there. I'm going to sell some fruit and some fresh juices and stuff like that. Probably have a couple of bowls going on.
Okay.
And just look out. I'm also on Facebook, Souls Ground Foods and Natural Healing. Look me up.
All right. Joe, you ready?
Do I have an option to go last?
No, you don't.
Stop saying it like I have an option, man. Damn. I thought I had an option tonight.
You don't have an option.
All right. I was thinking how I want to approach this, but without repeating like I always do, but I can't. I'm always amazed of all the people that we could bring on here, because I don't know. I know a little bit about somebody, but you open my eyes to a whole new atmosphere that you do. My thing is, and probably I was going to say is, you're phenomenal who you are because you believe in everything that you do. You're a strong, independent woman, and you lived a great life going through everything that you've ever done. And you keep on accomplishing more on the top of another thing that you've done, on top of another thing you've done. For me, looking at you, you're phenomenal, and you keep on living your life. And thank you for what you've done for the community in this area.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
All right, my turn. I'm glad. I'm go back to my first meeting. I'm glad we cleared the air up right there, because I've learned so much about you in 2 hours that I've never even expected to learn from you, and it's been a breath of fresh air for me.
Wow,
I appreciate that. Just you're a very talented person. And I never even knew that about you, but now that I know what to expect, and I expect great things from you.
Thank you so much.
In the upcoming future. So thank you for joining us on the show.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you for taking your time to come down and sharing that with our crowd. Not only that, with people that already know you. So with that being said, thank you so much for joining us on our
Thank you for
101st
the
episode.
invite. Thank you for the invite. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you.
This has been great. I've
You can
enjoyed
hear it up.
myself thoroughly. All right, guys, we're gonna get ready to get out of here. But first, thank you all for joining us. The ones that have joined us today, we do appreciate your joining us and being around us and supporting us throughout these last 100 episodes. We're gonna do 100 more. Get up to 200,
Yeah.
right, Joe?
Yes,
Yes,
All
we
right.
are.
Like usually,
I say 150 to start off with that.
no, I
one
want
first.
to do 100.
Let's do
100
50
straight.
more and then we go
Oh,
from
well,
there.
but we do appreciate you guys watching. Those that are watching on YouTube, once again, hit subscribe button and the like and notification bell so you can get more content when we put it out
And,
every Monday and Wednesday at 8 p.m.
and this Wednesday we have Jason Lee from Jason Lee and Cluck Show from the Bear out of South Bend.
All right, you heard it here first. Join us Wednesday, guys, for Jason Lee at 8 p.m. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much. I'm James Gill, your host. This is Joe Hill, your co-host. And thank you, Aubrey, for joining us once again. I appreciate that. I said it.
Audrey. Chef Audrey. Chef Audrey. That's easy.
Oh,
That's
damn.
all right. It's
No,
all
I'm
good.
giving, hold on, wait, I gotta give myself something. I
Yeah.
gotta give myself something. Messed up twice, James. That's for me, man.
No,
That's for me.
yeah.
All right, guys.
That's
Thanks for
awesome.
joining us. We appreciate you guys. Thank you, Audrey, for joining us again. All right, guys. We're getting out of here. Oh, yeah. Don't forget,
What?
we're thanking Dana over here for joining us, doing the stuff behind the scenes that nobody wants to do, and she
I know.
enjoys it. She enjoys it. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for doing this for us. All right, guys, we're getting out of here. See you Wednesday.